considered to be the month of Africa. On the May 25th, we'll be celebrating Africa Day. Would you mind doing something special, like 10-minute interview to speak about your views on the Africa?
We would do that.
Ceasefire is on life support. Is President Xi the person to bring it back to life?
Well, we'll see what happens. We're going to have a great meeting in China. He's a wonderful guy. He's a friend of mine, and we're going to have a great meeting. We do a lot of business with China. We do very well with China, and they do well with us. And the relationship is very good. We're going to have we are going to have a great meeting.
But do you think he's got what it takes to convince the Iranians?
Whatever he can do to help, we like.
Will you be able to talk about the end of the war in Ukraine with the president?
I think it's getting very close. The end of the war in Ukraine, I really think it's getting very close.
Will China invest $1 trillion in the U.S.? Will China invest $1 trillion in the U.S.?
When you're negotiating with Iran, Mr. President, to what extent are Americans' financial situations motivating you to make a deal?
Not even a little bit. The only thing that matters when I'm talking about Iran, they can't have a nuclear weapon. I don't think about Americans' financial situation. I don't think about anybody. I think about one thing. We cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. That's all. That's the only thing that motivates.
What is more broken, or NATO?
Say it?
What is more broken, NATO or OPEC?
Well, OPEC is having some difficulty right now because one of those things, but that has nothing to do with me. NATO was very disappointing to me. NATO was not there when we wanted them. We don't need NATO. We don't need NATO. But if we did need them, they just weren't there.
Do you think President Xi can help and contribute to a deal with Iran?
He could. I mean, it might be. Yeah. I don't think we need any help with Iran, to be honest with you. They're defeated militarily, and they'll either do the right thing or we'll finish the job.
Mr. President,
they're either going to do the right thing or we're just going to finish the job.
the message, sir, to the Chinese people as you embark on this summit?
That we're going to have a great relationship for many, many decades to come. My relationship with President Xi is a fantastic one. We've always gotten along, and we're doing very well with China, and working with China has been very good. So we look forward to it. As you know, President Xi will be coming here toward the end of the year, so that'll be exciting too. I only wish we had the ballroom finished. The ballroom is right on budget and ahead of schedule, but I wish we had it finished now. You also may want to do one other thing. You may want to go see the reflecting pool, because that's under construction, and for the first time since 1922, it's going to work properly.
Sir, and the gas tax?
Thank you, Mark Stone from Sky News. What's your advice to Keir Starmer, sir? He seems to be on the brink.
Well, my advice to him has always been, open up your oil in the North Sea. You got one of the great oil finds anywhere in the world, and you're not using it. They're not allowed to use it. And it's one of the best in the world, among the best oils in the world. Open up your oil in the North Sea and get tough on immigration.
Should he stay or go?
Europe is being very, very hurt by immigration all over Europe.
Should he stay or go?
That's up to him. But I've told him from day one, you're getting killed on energy. You're windmilling your country to death. Open up the North Sea. You have one of the greatest sources of energy in the world. Open up the North Sea.
The pressure is from Nigel Farage.
Drop taxes on oil. Would you ask them to do that?
I think it's a great idea.
May I ask you two questions? So, has there been any understanding between you and Putin that Russia should get entire Donbass?
No.
The president indicates to travel to Russia. Do you think it might happen this year?
It could. I mean, I will do whatever is necessary. That war, I've settled 8 wars. That war is getting closer. Believe it or not, it's getting closer. And we think we're going to end up getting a settlement between Russia and Ukraine.
What is the ultimate goal of your trip to China?
I think more than anything else, because we have massive relationships with China. We're the two superpowers. We're the strongest nation on earth in terms of military. China's considered second. Who knows? I mean, who knows? But we are. There's nobody even to come close. And you see that whether it's Venezuela or whether it's Iran. Iran's military is decimated. I have a great relationship with President Xi, and I think it's going to remain that way. We have a lot of things to discuss. I wouldn't say Iran is one of them, to be honest with you, because we have Iran very much under control. We're either going to make a deal or they're going to be decimated. So one way or the other, we win.
What about
we're going to be talking with President Xi about a lot of different things. I would say more than anything else will be trade.
Just to clarify, did you say earlier that the only thing that matters to you when it comes to Iran is a nuclear weapon? You're not considering the financial impact of this war on Americans?
The most important thing by far, including whether our stock market, which by the way is at an all-time high, but including whether or not our stock market goes up or down a little bit, the most important thing by far is Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon.
What about the pressure on Americans and prices right now?
Every American understands.
Americans, how they're feeling about
every American. Are you listening to me? Every American understands, and they just had a poll, like 85%, which is surprising. It's only that they understand that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. If Iran has a nuclear weapon, the whole world would be in trouble because they happen to be crazy. They're not going to have a nuclear weapon. Now, if the stock market goes up or down a little bit, the American people understand it. When it's over, you're going to have a massive drop in the price of oil, which a lot of people thought would be higher. And I mean, it was $99 yesterday, which is low, which is relatively low. When this war is over, oil is going to drop. The stock market's going to go through the roof. And truly, I think we're in the golden age right now. You're going to see a golden age like we've never seen before. The minute it's announced, and I'll be the one to announce it because I'm the one that makes that decision, I could leave right now, and it would take them 25 years to rebuild their country. But I don't want to do that. I want to have it complete and total. So you ready? As soon as this war is over, you're going to see numbers like you've never seen before.
I know how much you value loyalty. I know how much you value loyalty. Are you comfortable with people serving in the military if they personally oppose the Iran war or you?
It doesn't mean I'm happy about it, but I live with a lot of different
Question on redistricting. To voters who are confused about the changing maps, the changing dates, and to African Americans concerned that this is going to draw black members of Congress off the map, what do you say?
Well, I think it's been a wonderful process. They've been the Democrats, or as I call the Democrats, because they are dumb in so many ways. They've redistricted for years, and now we took our shot, and it looks like we're going to pick up a lot of seats, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. We want voters to have their choice. We want fair voting. We want fair elections. The Democrats have been cheating on elections for many years, and all we're doing is winning. Thank you.
Excuse me, sir.
And you were just watching President Trump at the White House departing for a two-day summit to meet with Chinese regime leader Xi Jinping in Beijing. So President Trump answering reporter questions as he enters the plane to depart. He says he has a great relationship with Xi Jinping and it's going to stay that way. And the talks will mainly focus on trade. He thinks Iran will likely not be an issue that comes up in the meeting. And on Iran, President Trump says the war is close to being over. He says that it's the same case with Ukraine as well. The Ukraine war is also close to being over. And Trump says Iran will either do the right thing or that it will be decimated. Either way, he says the United States will win. the United States will win. And the only thing that motivates President Trump, he says, is that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And as I said earlier, President Trump is on the way to Beijing today for a two-day summit, and he's going to attend a welcome ceremony on Thursday and hold a bilateral meeting with Xi Jinping in the morning. In the afternoon, they will tour the Temple of Heaven and attend a state banquet that evening. On Friday, the president will meet with the Chinese regime leader for a bilateral tea and working lunch before departing China. White House officials say the president is expected to pursue major new agreements while traveling with the delegation of top U.S. tech and business leaders. And that includes Tesla CEO Elon Musk, Apple CEO Tim Cook, and other executives from major industries. President Trump also plans to raise several issues, including Taiwan, Iran, and Russia. He also says he's going to bring up the cases of imprisoned Hong Kong publisher Jimmy Lai and Chinese pastor Ezra Jin during discussions with Xi Jinping. After this trip, the president plans to welcome Xi Jinping and his wife for a reciprocal visit to Washington later this year. Meanwhile, Chinese and U.S. officials are meeting in South Korea this week for trade talks ahead of President Trump's summit with Xi Jinping in Beijing. The discussions include a meeting tomorrow between Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Chinese Vice Premier He Lifeng. Bessent is stopping in Japan before making his way to Seoul. Bessent saying on X that he will meet with Japan's Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi in Tokyo today. And the Trump administration is launching a new initiative to support Americans who want to start families by expanding access to fertility benefits. President Trump announcing a new rule for employers to offer fertility benefits outside of health insurance plans, aiming to reduce IVF costs. Joining us now to discuss is Mike Leon, Director of Strategy at the Free and Equal Elections Foundation and host of the Can We Please Talk podcast. And we have Tony Kinnett, national correspondent for the Daily Signal and host of the Tony Kinnett Cast radio show and podcast. So first of all, good afternoon to you both, as always. Mike, real quick, before we talk about the aforementioned topic, Trump is departing for China to meet with Xi Jinping. What are your overall thoughts on that? And how strongly do you think he should bring up human rights issues?
Yeah, well, good to see you guys on this Tuesday afternoon. I mean, you should always bring up human rights issues, Don. That shouldn't be a question. I mean, any president should be bringing that up, and abuses that happen in any country. But in terms of this visit, I mean, this is a paramount visit. The president kind of said it there about we are the two superpowers of the world. A lot of people, because of the tariffs and economic impacts, have been turning to China. Some of our adversaries have been running to China as well to seek refuge or added troops, like Russia has been using them with respect to the war. So we have different people that are turning to China for economic reasons, for other reasons. They are another superpower. So it is important and imperative that the leader of this country go over there and meet with the leader of that country and try to make sure that the relationship is strong and built. But to your point, Don, diplomacy is not something that happens in a vacuum or happens very quickly. I'm sure the president will dance around some of the human rights abuses that China has infringed upon their people. I'm sure they'll point a finger back at the president on some of the things domestically. But be that as it may, it's important for the president to go out there and establish the relationship.
Okay, so Tony, what is your view on this? What is the right balance of bringing up human rights issues versus trade talks?
I mean, my answer is probably going to be different than the president of the United States. My answer would be to completely blockade China until the communist regime is gone. But that's, of course, not the proper way that the president's office is likely going to handle this. His best approach here is going to be to tell China, look, your strategic petroleum reserves that you bragged about are empty. All of your little economic success that you were supposed to have did not happen. All of the wonderful, beautiful structures are ghost towns. You're pouring concrete without rebar. Your Navy is rusted or made out of thin aluminum. It could be sponsored by Reynolds Wrap. You don't have anything here to play with. Your air defenses have been garbage. Your missiles have not worked. The drones that you've helped manufacture, half of them haven't even launched. Even the UAE is able to bypass your air defenses and start strikes against Iran. So by all means, feel free to play ball, but the United States is going to move forward with or without you. You promised DeepSeek, the AI. It just turned out to be two ChatGPTs glued together. That's all that's been brought forward by the regime. When you have Taiwan, when you have South Korea, when you have several other Asian companies that are on the heels of the Chinese Communist government in just 20 years of economic development that we've never even seen a comparison to before. Beijing's not bringing anything new to the table. They're bringing Cold War tactics to a space age game.
Well said, Tony. I'd love to talk more about this, but Mike, the rule yesterday that the administration announced, framing it as part of efforts towards family formation and addressing declining birth rates. What are your thoughts on this measure? And from where you stand, what should be the role that the government plays with regard to encouraging family creation?
Yeah, good question. Got to break it out into two parts, because the second part, I think Tony and I both kind of agree on in terms of the government intervening in that process, right? It's a freedom of choice and in terms of what I want to do with respect to starting a family. But I will tell you, because I don't have birthing hips or have given birth to a baby. I was speaking with a fertility coach. Sorry, Tony. I was speaking to a fertility coach prior to this. I know we like that. That may be the title of this segment, Birthing Hips. I was speaking to a fertility coach who's a close friend of mine in this space. And I said, hey, did you see the new proposal from the administration of what they've started at moms.gov? And I'll be honest with you, not a Trump supporter, Democrat-leaning voter. And I said, give me your honest assessment of this, because I truly want to hear this. And she said, just reading it on its surface, given the $120,000 that it covers, the incentive that it draws to employers to incentivize their employees and help them with fertility treatments. Because remember, IVF is not something that's a one-time thing. A lot of the times it's multiple rounds, and it's a lot of coverage. A lot of people cap the amount of money that can be used, or they use some type of formula to be able to cap it that people can use for these type of services. So on the surface level, to hear somebody that's Democratic leaning in terms of their voting, and someone that is a polar opposite to President Trump's platform, them seeing a program like this and being rolled out, and then seeing the website, and then seeing the incentives that are built around it, and seeing the community that it's speaking to, which was a subject, by the way, of debate during the vice presidential debate, if you remember, between Waltz and Vance, and that whole IVF situation with Waltz. This is something that was talked about during the campaign cycle. This is something that's coming to fruition, that at least proposal or implementation and things like that. So there's a high level tendency, at least for me, looking at it and asking somebody in the space to say, yeah, this is actually good. This will actually drive the conversation. Your separate question, Don, the government shouldn't be involved in things like this. Again, that's more of like libertarian perspective, but also I understand that this is the new age, right? Not everybody gets pregnant on the first try. There are families out there that want to have kids and they can't. They have to rely on medical treatments like this, and they're overburdened by how expensive it is and how healthcare plans don't provide access for some of these things. And that's the big thing that we really should be talking about. But this is a step in the right direction for sure.
Okay, so Tony, whether we're talking about the rule announced yesterday and previous measures like enhancing tax benefits for families, Trump accounts, where do you stand on this administration's efforts in encouraging family creation?
I think they are trying a number of experiments to see what actually moves the needle for families. And I like that on itself. So coming from the education background as a science teacher and then administrator, I was always bothered by how whenever a new idea would be suggested, the line that would be fired back is, well, you can't experiment on children. And there was this idea that came out of the early aughts and the mid-teens where we couldn't experiment with family policy. We couldn't experiment with medical policy and certain kinds of regulation and deregulation because it might cause such irrevocable harm. And that's not the case here. What we're actually seeing is the administration here, because Trump has a team of very diverse mavericks, one of the most diverse administrations in history, that has attempted to try out different approaches in order to institute things that can help families from all different kinds of backgrounds that are perhaps more traditionally Catholic can grow without using IVF, or those who are not from that background who are more open to using IVF, they can use those resources. Those kinds of things are a very good measure. I do agree with Mike, of course. I think the best solution long term is the government needs to get out of the medical industry and then also deregulation on top of that. So you can't kind of have it both ways. The more the government likes to put limits, well, then there should be some incentives as well. You can't really just say, well, I'm going to hold the stick and not the carrot, as the government likes to sometimes do. So I think that while I would like to see the government pulling out of certain deals and procedures here, I think that it's a good thing they're trying these things, and that if it gets rid of the fear mongering and puts us into what I believe is currently a baby boom, at least here in the Midwest, it seems like every third lady that I see, my wife included, is pregnant. And that's a very good thing. We need a strong base coming up full of children. It's a wonderful thing to see. And honest to goodness, as a former science and med guy, I just love to see the attention to solving the problem with a myriad of ways. I know that sounds wishy-washy, but it really is how I feel about it. I like seeing kind of a full court press.
Okay, Mike, can I have you expand a bit more on what you said earlier? For you personally, when you hear the words pro-family, what does that mean to you?
Well, I mean, it could mean a multitude of things, Don. Like in terms of pro-family, like if we truly want the family, it has to start creation, then birth, then post-birth, right? Like how we take care of the family afterwards, like programs that are available to be able to help the family, whether it be, a pre-K, with respect to like what Mondani's trying here in New York City and the pre-K education system, because pre-K is a fortune here. Now, I'm in New York City, if you can't hear the NYPD sirens in the background, but it's a fortune to put a child in pre-K here in New York City. And then as you move a little bit outside of the city, Westchester County, or if you go to Jersey, after school care is expensive. So if you truly are pro-family, you have to be at every stage of this pro-family. You can't just be from birth, or you can't just be from conception, or you can't just be post-birth. Like it has to be all three phases. Maternal health is a huge crisis that's happening in this country. We have so many people that have passed away, and according to the Center for Reproductive Rights, that have passed away because of things that could have easily been solved by the medical community, or lack of resources, or lack of funding, different challenges like that. And then back to the overall point about pro-family and creating families. If I remember correctly, I think Pew Research Center did a survey a while back, and they've done it like in 5-year increments, where the amount of people that are on IVF or other type of fertility treatments has grown exponentially. In 2018, it was like 33%. Now in 2023, because we're using every 5 years, it's 42%. So let's just use the math and cut it in half right now and say it's at 46% of adults that use it or know someone that uses it. That's a lot of people that use this, that they depend on it, right? But like I mentioned before, employers don't provide whether their healthcare coverage doesn't provide it. Some of it is out of pocket, elective, it's expensive. All of these things drain a bank account, which is why we have millions of people in medical debt, that be credit card debt. So you gotta tackle the whole system. Pro-family means you're talking about the dynamic all the way through. You can't, I work in, as you guys know, television production. If I create a series idea, I have to see it from ideation all the way to distribution. I can't just see the ideation and not the rest of it. I can't just see the distribution because it hasn't been made. We have to do the same thing when it comes to families. We have to think about the entire process here. The president and his team, to his credit, this is where I differ from other Dems. You got to give credit where credit's due. Moms.gov, starting other ways to talk about this in terms of the fertility and how we provide not only the access, but the money, the funds for people to be able to do it. That's step one, but we've got to work on some of the other steps that are kind of broken in the chain, Don.
So, Tony, you talked about briefly solutions to forming families more. But at the core of this, what do you attribute to the declining U.S. birth rate to?
Culture. It's all culture. The idea that families are held as kind of sacrosanct anymore has been tossed aside culturally. In the 1960s, the sexual revolution very, very clearly made it a case that you actually didn't need to grow until the point where you reached that family, and that it was actually really based on kind of a flippant hedonism. And then that literally ate the American society from the inside out. That's why you see in more liberal areas, you can actually look at the marriage rates on those who are multi-generational Americans. So that doesn't include those who have immigrated into the country and aren't a part of that generational culture. That the birth rate is very, very low. Whereas if you look in more conservative areas and you look at the kind of multi-generational facet from those cultures, the birth rate is much higher. And the argument there has very little to do with the kind of socioeconomics. You can actually pull from rural West Virginia and pull from kind of suburban Wisconsin to very different wealth families and acumens and resources. But it's this culture of desiring and growing a family, of building something in that manner, that traditional aspect that's been tossed aside. And still to this day, we have people who openly run around and brag as though it's some impressive feat that, well, I, don't have any children. I would never want children. Children are awful. And that kind of thing that a lot of individuals sneer at, rightly so. That kind of cultural hedonism, never growing up and thinking that life is all just about the next drink and the next time you get laid. I mean, I sure hope that's satisfying, but at least in a long-term cultural sense, that doesn't appear to be true anthropologically. We have a lot of depressed people in their elder years these days than we used to. And then we also have a situation where, again, the birth rate declining means that the country can't continue to persist. The left and right have different solutions for that. The right wants expanded family stuff. The left has an interesting version of the melting pot that they bring to the table, depending on the Dem that you talk to. But the core of this comes to a cultural issue, and it's an abandonment of traditional philosophy. But this isn't unique to the United States. It happened to France. It happened to the United Kingdom. They never really quite pulled out of it. We're seeing some different approaches to kind of rectifying some of the cultural growth in the meantime. We'll have to see how that plays out. I think it's still up in the air.
So, Mike, when you go on social media and you see these videos on TikTok, Instagram of people, couples, married couples, bragging how great their life is without kids, how much money they have, do you think it's a cultural issue that the U.S. is experiencing declining birth rate?
Yeah, I mean, without drilling too much into the data weeds, I think well, first off, the people that post those videos, I make fun of them. I can't imagine my life without my two kids. So, I have, how can I say this correctly? I know what they're going through, and I know what my life was like before. A lot of fun traveling and things like that. Not that you can't travel with kids, but I know it's more cost effective when it was just me and my girlfriend / fiance at the time, now my wife, versus a family of four. And I think there is a socioeconomic look, again, without having drilled into the data. And if we just go off Tony's example, for example, if I can say that two more times, using that as red city in red state versus blue city in blue state, just giving the New York to Indiana comparison with Tony and I, like, it is expensive to have a kid in New York City, given
certainly
what
true.
Hospital costs are out of pocket. Even if you are covered with your insurance provider, I have both of my kids were born here in New York City, and I know what the New York City school systems are like versus what they are outside of New York City and in Westchester County and the suburban counties. I know what childcare costs are like, which is why my wife stopped working, because we could afford one income because we were going to offset the cost of what she made versus what childcare costs would come out to, right? So I think those things play. This is more of like an ideal scenario. Somebody sits down and goes, you know what? Let me think about whether or not I want to have a kid. I have a partner. Do I want to have a kid? If you go through it like this, where you go through the rationale and you do the math on it in terms of how much kids cost, taking out emotion, obviously, of what the birth of a child does to you and how it changes you, there are a lot of factors that are at play. And I think people's pay hasn't gone up year over year, or even not year over year, decade over decade. We've seen a steady, like, no increase, not a decline, but not a huge increase in terms of a pay distribution, excuse me. So when people are not making more money and now they want to add a kid into the process, Don, I mean, my kids are a drain on my bank account. I know that from having a 7 and a 4-year-old. And that's because private school for my daughter who's on the spectrum, obviously you're incurring costs for food, healthcare costs, right, for out-of-pocket visits and things like that. If there's any procedures, God forbid, that need to happen. So all of those things, clothing, all of those things, when you bundle all of that up, that is an added expense. So for the people that are posting about it, yeah, I mean, mathematically, they're correct, depending upon what city they live in. But I also think that, back to Tony's point about culture, like, it used to be a different thing where culturally the mindset was, go to college or work in a trade, have a family, settle down, have a couple kids, white picket fence, right? Like, that was always a Northern Star, the marketing campaigns, all that around. I think there's been cultural shifts about that. And to Tony's point, the right and left have different solves of what that family looks like and how that's built. But I think it does start with culture from a different lens, and just in terms of our culture is no longer about settling down, having a wife, having a kid, and doing all of that. It's a little bit different as we've grown and evolved over time as a society.
So Tony, I'm glad earlier you laid out the differences. You contrasted Republicans and Democrats' approaches to reversing the birth rate trend, because it turns out some lawmakers have already found a solution to the declining birth rate back in 2022. Just take a look at this clip.
We have a population that is not reproducing it on its own with the same level that it used to. The only way we're going to have a great future in America is if we welcome and embrace immigrants, the dreamers, and all of them, because our ultimate goal is to help the dreamers, but get a path to citizenship for all 11 million or however many undocumented there are here.
So, Tony, Schumer says it's the only way we're going to have a great future in America.
So I really despise kind of the blanket sweep arguments. And I don't like it when I hear it kind of on the right side. I really don't like it on the left side, as you might expect. And the issue here that you're going to find with a lot of people is that immigrants aren't all the same. The friendly immigration crew who comes from a conservative Catholic background out of Central or South America is totally different than the guy who comes over here and is looking to scam those around him because the system makes it easy for him to do so, as we saw in Ohio or Minnesota. It's different based on the individual. But obviously, I think the cultural issue here really stems more than just the idea that we have a birth rate, but it is, what is our country pointing towards? This goes back to Mike's ideal situation question, which is, what are we actually trying to be as a country? And a lot of people like to paint what Mike framed was the old campaign ad, that the picket fence and the settling down and the family and, the house in the suburbs. America wasn't built to be that. That wasn't the point. America is a pioneering people. You go into barren lands and you craft something, and you take the little family into a little house on the prairie, and you build and you struggle together and you make something great. That's the American dream. And that is what a lot of immigrants come to this country looking for. Now, a lot of them don't. And that's a conversation that you hear argued every single day on Capitol Hill and in the country at large. But as for the entire country, how we're going to get out of this is that the American people need to become a pioneering people again. That's the cultural answer. So whether that's flushing out and building in Alaska, whether that's building in the Great Plains states and getting rid of some federal lands, not the national parks and stuff, obviously, whether that's pioneering to space, whether that's pioneering kind of the American version of imperialism out across her former colonies and looking into those lands, that's the kind of stuff that built the country. And that's what will bring about a revitalization of the family behind it. Because when you go and you often do have families that come out of that, and they're often very strong. When America expands, families expand. That's how we've seen that data throughout history.
All right. Mike, I'll end with you today. So the U.S. birth rate is below replacement level. What do we do about it?
Well, I mean, I've got a dirty answer I'm not going to say here on an afternoon show, but I will say, here's the takeaway for all of this, for everybody out here. I do think, to Tony and I's meshed point, if we were back in an ideal world, you need to have the ability to see this all the way through. From having a child, if you can't conceive naturally and using IVF services, to being able to afford, birthing that child at the hospital you want, using the doctor that you want, and the healthcare coverage that allows you to use that doctor you want. One of my best friends just gave birth to his baby. Thankfully, her doctor was on call for that day because they have good healthcare coverage. We have a lot of people that lack healthcare coverage in this country. We have a lot of, pregnancy deaths that I've mentioned before for mothers, and that care for the mothers. And then post all of this, right? Like, how do we get people to, how do we afford childcare in this country? Like, some of these things that I think, if we truly want people to have families, not only should they be rights, but at least the access and the affordability of it, right? There are people that are really out there not trying to game the system, not trying to take advantage of the system, trying to work hard and just provide for the kids that they do want to bring into this world, and they just can't afford to do it. That is a huge thing. So if anything from this segment can be taken away, it's that, how do we drive the birth rate? We've got to figure out all these other external factors before we can even tackle that issue, because those external factors are the leaks in the boat that will eventually get this boat steering in the right direction.
Yeah, great birthing segment today. Birthing hips segment.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Tony and Mike. Pleasure.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
The Justice Department subpoenas the Wall Street Journal in its probe of Iran war media leaks, what the department says about its investigation and how the newspaper responds. More news after this break.
Introducing the Quest-Wise Soothing Herbal Eye Patches. It comes with 30 pairs and can be used to help combat tired and strained eyes. The natural herbal formula provides a cooling, minty, and refreshing effect that stimulates natural tears and awakens your tired eyes. Placing the eye patches around your eyes helps to reduce dryness and massages acupuncture points. They can be worn while reading, studying, using electronics, and provide hours of long-lasting relief.
I'm Jonathan Lawson. If you're 50 to 85, please listen closely. The lock I want to talk to you about isn't the one on your door. It's a rate lock for your life insurance that guarantees that once you're insured, your rate can never go up at any time for any reason. Many policies you see don't have one, but you can get a lifetime rate lock from Colonial Penn. This plan was designed for people on a fixed income with coverage options that start at $9.95 a month. That's less than 35 cents a day. Your rate is locked in for life. Coverage can never be canceled, and your acceptance is guaranteed. You cannot be turned down because of your health. See for yourself. Call for an information kit and gift. Both are free with no obligation.
Call 1-800-624-6556 for your free information and your free gift. That's 1-800-624-6556. 1-800-624-6556. Call now.
I think building kindness in children from a very young age is foundational to their growth, to building their character, to allow them to share with each other in a classroom and in a space that is safe, like in the Ganjin World platform.
I'm a New York State certified teacher. Currently, I teach in a public school in upstate New York. And I'm also a Ganjin World Campus channel creator.
I've been fortunate to use Ganjin World's Teachers Premium channel for the past 3 years, and it's been shaping my curriculum and teaching, both in the classroom setting and in our homeschool.
If children can learn to support each other from a very young age and encourage each other and help, it'll only strengthen the future of our society.
You can just assure yourself everything on Ganjin campus, on Ganjin World, it will be safe, it will be clean.
Sparked many positive changes in our students.
Ganjin Campus equips educators worldwide with powerful Teachers Premium channels and high-quality learning resources to help children learn and grow safely online. When you support one teacher, Ganjin World matches your support to help another. Support Ganjin Campus. Scan to learn more.
There are real consequences to controlled media. And NTD's founders know them firsthand. Our freedom of thought is the price. This is the lesson that guides us in everything we do.
Yeah, so there's the tear gas there.
We know the value of a free society. And we take seriously the responsibility to preserve it. We are NTD.
The Department of Energy announced it will release more than 53 million barrels of oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. This is part of the U.S.'s pledge to add 172 million barrels to the international market. More than 30 countries are also included in that initiative that focuses on bringing roughly 400 million barrels of oil to the world. The Strait of Hormuz remained restricted amid the Iran conflict. The waterway carries about 1/5 of the world's natural gas and oil supply. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff General Dan Kane are testifying today. At issue is the $1.5 trillion budget request for the Pentagon. Here's Hegseth addressing the munitions issue asked by some House lawmakers.
well aware of all those dynamics. I think, first of all, the munitions issue has been foolishly and unhelpfully overstated. We know exactly what we have. We have plenty of what we need. And the reason we're accelerating a lot of this is because the department's been static in how it does this kind of business, not to mention the amount that was given to Ukraine for years and years. So we are getting after changing that dynamic so that we're not getting 100 more of something, but the companies are investing so there's new plants, so you're getting 2x, 3x, 4x of those munition in future years, because that's what we need, that's what our allies and partners through FMS require, and we just haven't been delivering it. So we're in good shape on that front. Whatever we think we need, we will submit. But I'll say, even in the conduct of the conflict, working with the chairman and Admiral Cooper, ensuring that any munitions we're using, we know what we're trading off of to preserve capabilities so we have maximum optionality across the globe, which we do. We're submitting a $1.5 trillion budget that'll remake the department and ensure that every warfighter in the future has exactly what they need, and we're never in a fair fight. And I take issue with the characterization that munitions are depleted in a public forum. That's not true. And ultimately, we have all the munitions needed to execute what we need to execute, and we're going to ensure that we supercharge that going into the future.
The Pentagon budget does not include a separate request to cover the cost of the Iran war. During his testimony, Pentagon Comptroller Jules Hurst said the cost of the war in Iran stands at about $29 billion. In late April, he said the cost was about $25 billion. Hurst said the new figure includes updated repair, replacement, and operational expenses. The Justice Department investigating Iran war media leaks is subpoenaing the Wall Street Journal, the news agency saying they oppose the subpoenas. The newspaper says the grand jury subpoenas asked for reporters' records about a report from February 23rd. The report was about comments from General Dan Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, just 5 days before Operation Epic Fury began. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche saying, quote, prosecuting leakers who share our nation's secrets with reporters, in turn risking our national security and the lives of our soldiers, is a priority for this administration. The Wall Street Journal reacting to the subpoenas, calling them an attack on constitutionally protected news gathering. The paper says, quote, we will vigorously oppose this effort to stifle and intimidate essential reporting. Next, an accusation from Kuwait. Officials there saying Iran sent an armed Revolutionary Guard team to carry out a failed attack earlier this month on Bu Bian Island. It's home to a China-funded port project tied to Beijing's Belt and Road Initiative. Kuwaiti officials say 6 armed men attempted to infiltrate the island on May 1st. Authorities described their planned actions as hostile actions. 4 suspects were detained while 2 escaped during the operation. Kuwait says one of its security officers was wounded. Officials provided no reason for why they delayed linking the attack to Iran. No public response yet from Iran on the accusations. Meanwhile, Ambassador Mike Huckabee saying that today Israel sent Iron Dome anti-missile batteries along with personnel to operate them to the United Arab Emirates.
Both states have now understood that they're going to have to make a choice. Is it more likely that they will be attacked by Iran or by Israel? And I think they can look around and say, you know, Israel helped us. Iran attacked us. What's the lesson here? The lesson is that Israel is not your natural enemy. Israel is not out to destroy you. Israel is not trying to take over your land. It's not sending missiles into your civilian territories. Who's doing that? Iran is.
The comments by Huckabee underline the growing defense relationship between Israel and the UAE. The UAE among the first members of the Abraham Accords, formally recognizing Israel in 2020. Huckabee says he's very optimistic that additional countries in the region will soon join the Abraham Accords. The number of individuals infected with the Hantavirus is expected to rise. Why the U.S. and the WHO say there's no major risk to the general public. Stay tuned for more news after this break.
out for me.
Boxes everywhere. And this is going to be Addie's room.
I am blind,
you really like it?
I hope so. Yeah. I know this road is there for me.
First night here, but Amy seems cool.
Waist down by the river. I am blind, but I need not see.
I got this.
I know this road is there for me.
Okay.
If I'm really free, take me down to the river and wash me.
My 15-year-old son, Ethan, and I had a fun and relaxing morning. We returned home, and Ethan walked to his best friend's house an hour later. I heard the ambulance scream by the street, carrying my beautiful boy. Ethan was shot in the head in his best friend's house with an unsecured gun. He had zero chance of survival. The father, the gun owner, he stored his 3 guns and bullets in a shoebox.
How do you feel?
That has to be the most horrific experience that a human could ever have.
David, would you give any advice?
First thing you do is not keep your ammunition with your weapons, and that your weapons need to be locked at all times.
The World Health Organization says there's no need to worry about the latest spread of the Hantavirus, despite the fact that the number of infected individuals is expected to rise. NTD's international correspondent Arian Pastar has the latest on the virus.
At the moment, there is no sign that we are seeing the start of a larger outbreak.
The head of the WHO on Tuesday, speaking alongside the president of Spain, the hantavirus risk level is currently low, but the numbers could still change according to the WHO.
Given the long incubation period of the virus, it's possible we might see more cases in the coming weeks.
He went on to explain why exactly the number of confirmed cases is still expected to rise.
There was a lot of interaction actually with the passengers, and as you know, the incubation period is also 6 to 8 weeks. So because of the interaction while they were still in the ship, especially before they started taking some infectious prevention measures, because of the interaction, we would expect more cases.
Still, the United States is confident the virus doesn't pose a risk to the general public at this point, as Health Secretary RFK Jr. made clear on Monday.
We have this under control and we're not worried about it.
But it looks like it's just a disease that we've had around in a very small way for a long time. Not a good one to catch because, you know, it's a very severe disease if you catch it, but it's very hard to catch.
Over a dozen American cruise passengers are currently in quarantine in Nebraska. Officials say none of them are showing symptoms. Arian Pastar, NTD News.
FBI Director Kash Patel is testifying before the Senate right now. Let's take a look.
Illegal marijuana grow houses connected to transnational criminal organizations originating in China is an ongoing problem in the state of Maine. A DHS memo in 2023 estimated that Maine had as many as 270 Chinese-backed illegal marijuana operations, producing up to an estimated $4.3 billion in illicit revenues. Since then, thousands of pounds of illegal marijuana have been seized, primarily because of the tireless work of our Maine sheriffs and local law enforcement in Maine. One other side effect of these illegal grow operations is they usually destroy the houses in which they're located, which exacerbates the housing shortage in my state. Last year, you testified that the FBI would be sending more resources to the field, specifically to Maine, to combat these dangerous operations. I speak with Maine sheriffs frequently about this problem, and they have reported some improvement in federal interest and participation. For example, federal support has been critical to track money laundering, which is often linked to these operations, and in providing interpreter services to question individuals who are arrested, who often appear to have been trafficked and forced to work and live at these sites under hazardous conditions and don't speak English. Bring me up to date on how the FBI is working to address these dangerous grow houses that are operating not just in Maine, although we're a particular target, but Oklahoma, California, and other states as well. It's essential that we have support from FBI, from DEA, from Treasury. This has to be an all-of-government effort to close these operations down.
Senator, I couldn't agree with you more. And what we did since you and I we've spoken in between you last year in this hearing, but the HSTFs that we stood up, the Homeland Security Task Forces that we stood up in 59 locations across the country, co-led by DHS and FBI, have specifically targeted the marijuana grow house operations, especially tied to the Chinese. There's two problems there. The Chinese nationals that are doing most of the criminal activity related to the grow houses have either severed ties or covered their tracks very well, and has led us to be unable to determine their direct connectivity. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, back to mainland China. That's kind of their MO on how they do, whether it's grow houses or any other criminal activity. So what we're doing with the HSTFs is reverse engineering those programs, taking down the grow houses, whether they're in Maine or Oklahoma, and tracing their banking records and their financial statements to see what we can do with the sanctions program overseas and shut down the financiers of these operations.
Do we know where the money is going to? Some law enforcement officers in Maine believe it's tied to the fentanyl trade.
Yes, ma'am. I believe, as these gentlemen will tell you, the money always goes back into the drug trafficking trade, into the drug traffickers' pockets. And so we're not seeing, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, what we're not seeing yet is the money directly being shipped back over to mainland China and the CCP from these grow house operations.
I would encourage you to even increase your efforts even more, because this remains a huge problem in Maine, despite the valiant efforts of our sheriffs and local law enforcement. Administrator Cole, could you provide an update on DEA's efforts in this area?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Senator. And we continue to target those specific marijuana traffickers in Maine. As of recently, we had executed 44 search warrants in reference to Chinese underground marijuana houses, seized about 32,000 marijuana plants, over 500 pounds of marijuana. And as we continue to trace the Chinese underground banking system, where the funds are being fueled, as the Director Patel had said, they're often using crypto as the instantaneous transfer of wealth. And what that requires our skilled investigators to do is to pull those findings off the blockchain, but to specifically look at 1, 2, and 3 tiers removed to help identify exactly where those illicit gains are going to. We continue to stay on the offensive. Recently, with our Bangor, Maine office, we've identified up to 250 potential locations where this is occurring. So this is ongoing cooperation with our state, local, tribal partners and our federal partners, not only through our efforts, but the efforts of the Homeland Security Task Force that has come together. We will stay on the front foot. We will continue to target and investigate and bring them to justice. Unfortunately, they are embedded, which requires long-term, complex conspiracy work to continue to eradicate not only the poison of the narcotics, but the environmental dangers that they bring to these grow houses. So we will continue. We will keep you posted, Senator. My team is happy to follow up with your team to give you progress and update reports.
Thank you. What I have found is a lot of time constituents who live near these houses know what's going on. I mean, all of a sudden, the windows are covered. They see people going in and out at odd hours. They can smell, in some cases, the marijuana. These are not the licensed operations that are legal in Maine. These individuals are not following any of the rules, and they are operating illegally and causing tremendous harm. The fact that your latest reporting shows that there's still 250 houses, and that's probably an underestimate, it shows how incredibly serious this problem is. And again, think of the affordable housing crisis in Maine, in Oklahoma, and other states. These are houses that become uninhabitable because of the amount of black mold that is usually inside of them. So I hope you will continue the task force effort, because this really requires an all-of-government approach. Thank you.
And that was FBI Director Kash Patel answering questions relating to marijuana grow houses with Chinese involvement, and saying the FBI is on the task and investigating. Now, Food and Drug Administration Commissioner Marty McCary is leaving the agency. His exit comes as President Trump sees some of his health nominees stall in the Senate. More news after this break.
The bladder control aisle. You won't shop here again. Your private business is your own. The constant struggle is over. Now there's a better way. It's HDIS. We home deliver bladder control products. We understand how you feel. For over 25 years, we've home delivered to many of the 20 million Americans who deal with incontinence. We offer all brands. We pay shipping and use plain, unmarked boxes. If we can help you or someone you care for, call for your free product sample pack and $45 in money-saving coupons. Our counselors will help you choose the right product. And unlike stores, we're always in stock. You'll get what you need. Satisfaction guaranteed. HDIS, the better way.
For your free sample pack with your free catalog, $45 in money-saving coupons, and free product samples, call 1-800-701-6159. That's 1-800-701-6159.
Today's seniors are enjoying life more than ever before, and part of that comes from the independence of driving.
However, car insurance for older drivers becomes more expensive the older we get.
Just because I'm a senior, and maybe you are too, do we really have to pay outrageously high insurance rates? Well, the answer is no, we don't.
When was the last time you checked to make sure you're paying the lowest available rate? Well, maybe it's time to give your car insurance a tune-up, just to make sure your rates are running properly.
You change your oil, you change your tires, well, maybe it's time to change your car's insurance company.
Are you paying too much for your auto insurance? If so, you're just throwing your money away.
So the only way to really know if you're paying too much is to call the number on your screen.
1-800-952-5196. 1-800-952-5196.
You'll speak with a licensed insurance agent. They may have an insurance plan that could lower your yearly premiums by hundreds of dollars.
Seniors can save money on their car insurance.
So call right now and find out just how much money you might be able to save.
Come on, call now.
You may be able to save a lot of money, maybe hundreds of dollars a year. Just call the number on your screen and speak with a licensed insurance agent.
Yes, it is possible for seniors to save on car insurance. You could lower your premiums by hundreds of dollars a year.
As a responsible driver, you always check your gauges, right? And you check for other cars and pedestrians. You check your oil and you check your mirrors.
Well, now is the time to check on your auto insurance rates. You need to make sure that you're not paying more than you need to. call the number on your screen right now.
1-800-952-5196. 1-800-952-5196.
Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Don Ma. President Trump heading off to China, his expectations for the meeting and the situation with Iran. A mayor in California agrees to plead guilty to acting as a CCP agent. Prosecutors say she spread Chinese regime propaganda denying human rights abuses in Xinjiang and more. Two new state battles unfold today over redistricting maps, the latest in the race for the most potential congressional seats ahead of the 2026 midterms. Food and Drug Administration Commissioner Marty McCary is leaving the agency. His exit comes as President Trump sees some of his health nominees stall in the Senate. The Justice Department subpoenas the Wall Street Journal in its probe of Iran war media leaks, what the department says about its investigation and how the newspaper responds. The number of individuals infected with the Hantavirus is expected to rise. Why the U.S. and the WHO say there's no major risk to the general public.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Thank you for joining us. President Trump is on the way to Beijing for a two-day summit. He will attend a welcome ceremony on Thursday and hold a bilateral meeting with Xi in the morning. In the afternoon, they will tour the Temple of Heaven and attend a state banquet that evening. On Friday, the president will meet with the Chinese regime leader for a bilateral tea and working lunch before departing China. White House officials say the president is expected to pursue major new agreements while traveling with a delegation of top U.S. tech and business leaders. That includes Tesla CEO Elon Musk, Apple CEO Tim Cook, and other executives from major industries. President Trump plans also to raise several other issues, including Taiwan, Iran, and Russia. He also says he's going to bring up the cases of imprisoned Hong Kong publisher Jimmy Lai and Chinese pastor Ezra Jin during discussions with Xi Jinping. After his trip, the president plans to welcome Xi Jinping and his wife for a reciprocal visit to Washington later this year. Chinese and U.S. officials are meeting in South Korea this week for trade talks ahead of President Trump's summit with Xi Jinping in Beijing. The discussions include a meeting tomorrow between Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Chinese Vice Premier He Lifeng. Bessent is stopping in Japan before making his way to Seoul. Bessent saying on X he will meet with Japan's Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi in Tokyo today. President Trump saying he will discuss the Iran war during his meeting with Chinese regime leader Xi Jinping. Here he is departing for his trip to China from Joint Base Andrews earlier.
Well, I think number one, we're going to have a long talk about it. I think he's been relatively good, to be honest with you. You look at the blockade, no problems. They get a lot of their oil from that area. We've had no problem, and he's been a friend of mine. He's been somebody that we get along with, and I think you're going to see that good things are going to happen. This is going to be a very exciting trip. A lot of good things are going to happen.
The president says the meeting with Xi will cover a lot of ground, but it's going to focus on trade more than anything else. On the Iran war, Trump says the U.S. will do whatever is necessary and promises Iran will not have a nuclear weapon.
No, I don't think we need any help with Iran. We'll win it one way or the other. We'll win it peacefully or otherwise.
The president says that Iran can either accept the deal with the U.S. or be decimated. He says the U.S. will win either way. Trump also says the war will be over soon and Americans will see oil prices drop once that happens. The Treasury Department announcing sanctions on 12 new targets accused of helping transport Iranian oil to China. The move is part of the Trump administration's economic fury campaign aimed at cutting off funding for Tehran's military and nuclear programs. Treasury officials say the sanctions target a network tied to Iran's Revolutionary Guard, including several companies based in Hong Kong and the United Arab Emirates. Officials say the network used front companies and shell corporations to disguise Iranian oil shipments and move money through the global financial system. The action comes as a new report accuses Hong Kong of becoming a major hub for Iranian sanctions evasion, including oil sales, money transfers, and the supply of drone components. The sanctions come just days before President Trump is expected to meet with Chinese Communist Party leader Xi Jinping, with Iran likely to be on the agenda. The Department of Energy announced it will release more than 53 million barrels of oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. This is part of the U.S.'s pledge to add 172 million barrels to the international market. More than 30 countries are also included in an initiative that focuses on bringing roughly 400 million barrels of oil to the world. The Strait of Hormuz remained restricted amid the Iran conflict. The waterway carries about 1/5 of the world's natural gas and oil supply. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff General Dan Kane are testifying today. At issue is the $1.5 trillion budget request for the Pentagon. Here's Hegseth addressing the munitions issue asked by some House lawmakers.
Well aware of all those dynamics, I think, first of all, the munitions issue has been foolishly and unhelpfully overstated. We know exactly what we have. We have plenty of what we need. And the reason we're accelerating a lot of this is because the department's been static in how it does this kind of business, not to mention the amount that was given to Ukraine for years and years. So we are getting after changing that dynamic so that we're not getting 100 more of something, but the companies are investing so there's new plants, so you're getting 2x, 3x, 4x of those munition in future years, because that's what we need, that's what our allies and partners through FMS require, and we just haven't been delivering it. So we're in good shape on that front. Whatever we think we need, we will submit. But I'll say, even in the conduct of the conflict, working with the chairman and Admiral Cooper, ensuring that any munitions we're using, we know what we're trading off of to preserve capabilities so we have maximum optionality across the globe, which we do. We're submitting a $1.5 trillion budget that'll remake the department and ensure that every warfighter in the future has exactly what they need, and we're never in a fair fight. And I take issue with the characterization that munitions are depleted in a public forum. That's not true. And ultimately, we have all the munitions needed to execute what we need to execute, and we're going to ensure that we supercharge that going into the future.
The Pentagon budget does not include a separate request to cover the cost of the Iran war. During his testimony, Pentagon Comptroller Jules Hurst said the cost of the war in Iran stands at about $29 billion. In late April, he said the cost was about $25 billion. Hurst said the new figure includes updated repair, replacement, and operational expenses. The Justice Department investigating Iran war media leaks is subpoenaing the Wall Street Journal, the news agency saying they oppose the subpoenas. The newspaper says the grand jury subpoenas ask for reporters' records about a report from February 23rd. The report was about comments from General Dan Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, just 5 days before Operation Epic Fury began. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche saying, quote, prosecuting leakers who share our nation's secrets with reporters, in turn risking our national security and the lives of our soldiers, is a priority for this administration. The Wall Street Journal reacting to the subpoenas, calling them an attack on constitutionally protected news gathering. The paper says, quote, we will vigorously oppose this effort to stifle and intimidate essential reporting. Next, an accusation from Kuwait. Officials there saying Iran sent an armed Revolutionary Guard team to carry out a failed attack earlier this month on Bubayan Island. It's home to a China-funded port project tied to Beijing's Belt and Road Initiative. Kuwaiti officials say 6 armed men attempted to infiltrate the island on May 1st. Authorities described their planned actions as hostile acts. 4 suspects were detained while 2 escaped during the operation. Kuwait says one of its security officers was wounded. Officials provided no reason for why they delayed linking the attack to Iran. No public response yet from Iran on the accusations. Meanwhile, Ambassador Mike Huckabee saying today that Israel sent Iron Dome anti-missile batteries along with personnel to operate them to the United Arab Emirates.
Both states have now understood that they're going to have to make a choice. Is it more likely that they will be attacked by Iran or by Israel? And I think they can look around and say, you know, Israel helped us. Iran attacked us. What's the lesson here? The lesson is that Israel is not your natural enemy. Israel is not out to destroy you. Israel is not trying to take over your land. It's not sending missiles into your civilian territories. Who's doing that? Iran is.
The comments by Huckabee underline the growing defense relationship between Israel and the UAE. The UAE among the first members of the Abraham Accords member formally recognizing Israel in 2020. Huckabee says he's very optimistic that additional countries in the region will join soon the Abraham Accords. President Trump says the Iran ceasefire is on life support. Joining us now to discuss is former CIA officer Claire Lopez, national security expert and founder and president of Lopez Liberty. So Claire, good afternoon. Can you just tell us what signals are you getting from Iran when you see the demands that they're making in its latest peace proposal to the U.S.? You know, these things including compensation for war damage, emphasizing its sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz and others?
Well, good afternoon. And I think that the signal that is coming out of whatever is left of this Iranian regime, and that would be top commanders of the IRGC, Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or Pasdaran, those signals are desperation. They know, as President Trump has stated many times, they have no military left, no army, no air force, no navy. They have no air defense. Their economy is being absolutely squeezed. And so they try to put on a brave front, I suppose. But they must know that President Trump is holding firm on his red lines. And as President Trump spoke to reporters just a little while ago before departing on his trip to China, he emphasized over and over again that his absolute red line is Iran will not have nuclear weapons.
Okay, so you're saying the signals coming out of Iran is a sense of desperation. So here's a clip of President Trump describing this ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran.
I would say it's one of the weakest right now. It's on life support. They understand these are all medical people. And Dr. Oz, life support is not a good thing. Do you agree? Bad prognostic. I would say the ceasefire is on massive life support, where the doctor walks in and says, "Sir, your loved one has approximately a 1% chance of living."
I mean, what Trump said certainly doesn't sound good for Iran. How are you interpreting what Trump said?
I think that we take this in the context of the recent exchange of proposals and conditions between Iran and the United States. And the United States, of course, had submitted a list of conditions that include the dismantlement of all of Iran's nuclear weapons facilities, Natanz, Isfahan, Fardo, maybe Pickaxe Mountain too, and a relinquishing of its stockpile of highly enriched uranium, an opening of the Strait of Hormuz, and an end to support for jihadi proxy terrorists in the region. The answer that came back after some delay from the Iranian side was in a Truth Social posting by President Trump, totally unacceptable. And so that is where we stand at the moment. And repeated again, assertions by President Trump about the ceasefire being on life support and recent attacks against United Arab Emirates and also Kuwait. I think, and also noting, by the way, that the United Arab Emirates has now joined this fight after being attacked multiple times by the regime in Iran, joined the fight by launching its own attacks inside of Iran. So I don't think there's much time left before President Trump completely runs out of whatever patience he has left. And Operation Freedom, that is Project Freedom, opening of the Strait of Hormuz, by military means, naval means, is what we're going to have to do, I think is not far off, and perhaps a resumption of even the kinetic part aspects of Operation Epic Fury to finish the remaining, what is it, 25% of the target list previously that had not been completed up until now. I think all of that is very much in the near future.
So, Claire, you said earlier, you mentioned that President Trump said he is standing firm on his point that Iran must not have a nuclear weapon in his remarks before he left for China. So the key points here is that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, of course, and it must give up the uranium that it has already enriched. Do you see the Iranian regime agreeing to these points?
No, I don't. They have repeatedly not agreed to them. I might add to that list, returning the sending it out of the country, the highly enriched uranium. I should add to that that we've taken note recently publicly that there is a large stockpile of enriched plutonium in Iran as well. So, no, I don't think that the Pasdaran commanders left in charge are going to agree willingly to give up any of that. But when President Trump says that Iran must not have a nuclear weapon, he means also the means to produce a deliverable nuclear weapon. And that would include these stockpiles of enriched uranium, plutonium, and I should add to the ballistic missile capability, which would carry such warheads were that to happen. So, no, those things are going to have to be imposed, those conditions, and I think that probably is coming very soon.
Okay, so if you're saying that Iran will not agree to these terms, the U.S.'s terms, and President Trump, you said earlier, could be running out of patience. So, I mean, in your view, in your mind, what is the likelihood of a full-scale military action resuming in Iran?
I think it's more likely than not likely. I think that we have shown, President Trump and the administration have shown that they have exhausted every other avenue. If we're going to talk about just war theory, they have exhausted every one of those conditions. And I think that was part of the reason why President Trump wanted to exhaust every avenue possible in possible negotiations with whatever's left of this regime. But that has been exhausted now. And there is nothing left except, I think, returning to a completion of both Operation Epic Fury and those 25 or 30 or whatever percent of targets not yet hit inside of Iran. I would name Karg Island as a top target right now. And then, of course, also the opening of the Strait of Hormuz with naval force, naval power as necessary.
Okay, if the U.S. re-engages Iran militarily, can you forecast or estimate or give us a guess on what the Iranian regime will look like after this military operation? Because right now, Iran, the government, is not in a good state. So what is it going to look like after Operation Epic Fury is completed?
You know, I heard a comment today or read it that regimes like this one seem to be in a slow motion collapse, and then they collapse all of a sudden. I think that is possibly what we're going to see. I should add, though, that what the United States would or should also be including right now, is reaching out to the Iranian internal resistance forces, the opposition inside of Iran, which already are the boots on the ground. And by that, I mean the ethnic minorities, Kurds, Baluchis, Azeris, Turkmen, Ahwaz Arabs, and of course the Mujahideen-e-Khalq, reaching out to them to expedite, to accelerate that final collapse, but also importantly then to begin to set the stage for what comes after. Because when that collapse happens suddenly, it is going to be time right then to begin thinking about a transition stage for Iran, and that's going to have to be through the Iranian people themselves.
Okay, Claire, I just have one more question for you, and it relates to what I actually asked you last time about what happens when Iran's oil storage fills up. So Recently, we saw a suspected oil spill seen on satellite images near Iran's Karg Island oil export hub. So here's a Fox News headline. Trump blockade squeezing Iran so hard, regime may be dumping oil into Gulf, experts say. So this was a headline a couple days ago. What is your reaction here?
Yes, I saw that headline as well. And what that speaks to is the absolute willingness of this Pazdaran regime remnant to resort to any means at all, including, the dumping of oil into the Persian Gulf with an environmental catastrophe possibly. Caused by that. They are willing to do that. I think that gives us a very good idea of, what we are up against with this regime that would be willing to so damage its own environmental waters right, along its own coastline, essentially. Never mind, what it has been doing to its own people, slaughtering them by the tens of thousands. This is a regime that will resort to anything, and it's time for it to go.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. This is a regime that has no bottom line, and nothing is above its own interests. Claire, thank you for speaking with us today. A pleasure.
Thank you.
Food and Drug Administration Commissioner Marty McCary is leaving the agency. His exit comes as President Trump sees some of his health nominees stall in the Senate. We have more news after this break. Stay with us.
Introducing the Quest-Wise Soothing Herbal Eye Patches. It comes with 30 pairs and can be used to help combat tired and strained eyes. The natural herbal formula provides a cooling, minty, and refreshing effect that stimulates natural tears and awakens your tired eyes. Placing the eye patches around your eyes helps to reduce dryness and massages acupuncture points. They can be worn while reading, studying, using electronics, and provide hours of long-lasting relief.
I'm Amy Grant, and I want to talk to you from my heart about the heart. I would have been the last person on the list to say this woman has a problem with her heart. So no, there was nothing about my life that said, you have a ticking time bomb in your chest. But I did. I wound up in the office of a cardiologist because I was there with my husband. And at the tail end of that, the cardiologist looked at me and said, I want to see you. No one was more surprised than I was to learn I was living with a rare heart condition. He said, Amy, this condition, you'll be fine, and then catastrophic. A few months later, I had open heart surgery that saved my life. And I owe it to the research and life-saving medical breakthroughs developed by the American Heart Association. That's why I'm asking you to join me and become a monthly donor to the American Heart Association. Please call now or go to helpheart.org. For only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can help fund the next medical breakthrough, get the next person trained in CPR, and get the next hospital certified in high-quality cardiovascular care. If this could happen to me, it could happen to anybody. Heart disease is America's #1 killer, but your support can save your life or the life of someone you love. Give $19 a month with your credit card and we'll send you this special t-shirt you can wear to show you're part of a community of monthly donors working to help save more lives like mine. I'm grateful for the American Heart Association. Their research gave me more time to do the things I love with the people I love. So listen to your heart. I'm here today because I did. Please call the number on your screen or go to helpheart.org now to become a monthly donor and help save even more lives. Thank you.
For decades, I've taught you everything I know. But only you can prevent wildfires.
The World Health Organization says there's no need to worry about the latest spread of the Hantavirus, despite the fact that the number of infected individuals is still expected to rise. NTD's international correspondent Arian Pasdar has the latest on the virus.
At the moment, there is no sign that we are seeing the start of a larger outbreak.
The head of the WHO on Tuesday, speaking alongside the president of Spain, the hantavirus risk level is currently low, but the numbers could still change according to the WHO.
Given the long incubation period of the virus, it's possible we might see more cases in the coming weeks.
He went on to explain why exactly the number of confirmed cases is still expected to rise.
There was a lot of interaction actually with the passengers, and as you know, the incubation period is also 6 to 8 weeks. So because of the interaction while they were still in the ship, especially before they started taking some infectious prevention measures, because of the interaction, we would expect more cases.
Still, the United States is confident the virus doesn't pose a risk to the general public at this point, as Health Secretary RFK Jr. made clear on Monday.
We have this under control and we're not worried about it.
But it looks like it's just a disease that we've had around in a very small way for a long time. Not a good one to catch because, it's a very severe disease if you catch it, but it's very hard to catch.
Over a dozen American cruise passengers are currently in quarantine in Nebraska. Officials say none of them are showing symptoms. Arian Pasdar, NTD News.
Redistricting battles are intensifying across the country ahead of the 2026 midterms, with new battles unfolding today in both Missouri and South Carolina. NTD's Arlene Richards has more.
Increasingly, the battle for control of Congress is unfolding not only at the ballot box, but in courtrooms and state houses across the country. In Missouri, Tuesday, 7 justices on the state Supreme Court heard arguments over whether a new congressional map violates the state constitution.
At issue in this case are the Missouri Constitution's mandatory requirements for congressional redistricting. That each and every district be as compact as may be, the subject of our first claim, and that every district be equally populated and contiguous.
A separate issue is whether Missouri can redraw congressional maps mid-decade. New maps are typically drawn every 10 years after updated census data becomes available. Opponents argue the proposed map is designed to give Republicans control of 7 of Missouri's 8 congressional districts. Meanwhile, in South Carolina, the state Senate is expected to vote on whether to move forward with its own mid-decade redistricting effort. President Trump weighed in on Truth Social Monday, saying he was counting on their elected leaders to use every legal and constitutional authority they have to stop the radical left Democrats from destroying our country. Republicans have increasingly focused on redistricting as a path to protecting their House majority ahead of the 2026 midterms. They could target up to 14 additional seats nationwide, while Democrats are targeting about 6. Democrats are also hoping the U.S. Supreme Court will allow Virginia to implement a new congressional map that could favor Democrats and potentially add 4 seats. Several Republican-led states, including Tennessee, Florida, and Texas, have already advanced new maps, while Democrats are pursuing legal challenges and redraw efforts in states like New York and California. Arlene Richards, NTD News.
Vice President J.D. Vance will travel to Maine on Thursday to deliver remarks on the Trump administration's efforts to tackle fraud. His visit to Bangor follows a Health Department Inspector General audit earlier this year. The Inspector General's report found that Maine made at least $45 million in improper fee-for-service Medicaid payments for services provided to children diagnosed with autism. The HHS audit found that some services were provided without required comprehensive assessment of the children. Other assessments didn't have the required signatures of staff, parents, or guardians. Vance's visit also comes as Maine Senator Susan Collins defends her seat from challenger Graham Plattner. And a disturbing story of a U.S. politician doing the bidding of communist China. The Department of Justice saying a California mayor has agreed to plead guilty to operating as an agent for the CCP. NTD's Daniel Monahan has the details of yet another troubling case of Beijing attempting to influence domestic affairs in the U.S.
Arcadia Mayor Eileen Wong resigned yesterday from her position after being charged with secretly carrying out the directives of a foreign government. Wang was voted onto the Arcadia City Council in November 2022 and was mayor when the charges were brought. The position of mayor rotates among the 5-member council. Arcadia is about 13 miles northeast of downtown Los Angeles. Wang resigned following the announcement of the charges. Court documents say Wang and her fiancé and campaign treasurer Yao Ning Mike Soon of Chino Hills worked on behalf of instructions from Chinese regime operatives from late 2020 through 2022. The two ran a site called U.S. News Center, marketed to the local Chinese American community as a news outlet. But prosecutors say in reality, it was used to spread CCP propaganda. According to Wang's plea agreement, a Chinese official sent her pre-written content on WeChat in 2021, denying genocide and forced labor allegations in Xinjiang and accusing critics of trying to undermine China. Prosecutors say Wang uploaded the article to her website within minutes and sent the link to the official, to which he replied, "So fast, thank you everyone." By August 2021, prosecutors say Wang was editing articles at an official's request and forwarding screenshots showing how many views the articles were receiving. After a post showed over 15,000 views, the official said, "Great," and Wang wrote back, "Thank you, leader." Wang acknowledged in her plea agreement that she never notified the Attorney General that she was working as a CCP operative, and she never disclosed on her website that some of its content had been published at the direction of CCP officials. Court filings also show Wang corresponded in November 2021 with John Chen, identified as a senior figure in the CCP's intelligence structure, who attended elite CCP functions and met personally with Chinese leader Xi Jinping. Chen was sentenced in November 2024 to 20 months in federal prison after pleading guilty to acting as an illegal Chinese agent and conspiracy to bribe a public official. Wang faces up to 10 years in prison. The FBI commented on the case, saying it will continue working to safeguard the integrity of elections and keep hostile actors from undermining the voices of the American people. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
Dr. Marty Makary is no longer the commissioner of the Food and Drug Administration. President Trump confirmed earlier reports of Makary's departure while speaking outside the White House ahead of his trip to China. Trump declined to say whether Makary resigned or was fired. Makary had faced criticism from companies, lobbyists, and other agencies for officials declining to approve certain drugs. His exit comes as Trump has seen some of his health nominees stall in the Senate, including his pick for Surgeon General, Dr. Casey Means. Trump recently announced he was withdrawing her nomination, tapping Dr. Nicole Safier as his new nominee. FDA Deputy Commissioner of Food Kyle Demantes will also serve as the agency acting commissioner. It's National Police Week. How important are events like the Candlelight Vigil for the National Peace Officers Memorial Service in Washington, D.C. for the law enforcement community? We'll discuss with the former law enforcement officer after this break. Stay tuned.
My 15-year-old son, Ethan, and I had a fun and relaxing morning. We returned home, and Ethan walked to his best friend's house an hour later. I heard the ambulance scream by the street, carrying my beautiful boy. Ethan was shot in the head in his best friend's house with an unsecured gun. He had zero chance of survival. The father, the gun owner, he stored his 3 guns and bullets in a shoebox.
How do you feel?
That has to be the most horrific experience that a human could ever have.
David, would you give any advice?
First thing you do is not keep your ammunition with your weapons, and that your weapons need to be locked at all times.
I debate all day. It's what I do. But there are some things that are undebatable, like your mental health, my own mental health. I was in a dark place when my brother passed away in a car accident. I've never been more devastated than the day I lost my mom. I was depressed, miserable, in ways I never imagined. I reached out, and my sisters came, my pastor, my therapist. They helped me get through it. I found that the more I spoke up, the healthier my mind became. The chaos that was in me began to subside. I was more focused, clear. When you love your mind, you can go so much further. That's not up for debate. Find mental health resources at loveyourmindtoday.org.
I am so glad you ladies are here. You each have your own rooms. Thank you. Get settled in. I'll call you for dinner. Adopting teen sisters, it's a lot. Girls, you're gonna be late. You want breakfast? No thanks, we're good. They're always in their own world. How'd you get there? Twice the work. Twice the surprises. Just try it. But if you think of it that way, they're also twice as fulfilling. I think you should ask her yourself.
Is it okay to call you Mom?
Of course you can.
It's National Police Week, and joining us now to discuss is retired Sergeant Mike McGrew, former law enforcement officer and founder of 9/11 at Ease International. So, good afternoon to you, Sergeant McGrew. Thank you for joining us today. I just want to start off. When you hear National Police Week, what does it mean for you personally after years of your service?
It's an important week. It's an important week not only for myself, but for all the officers who are out there serving their communities across this nation. The Memorial Foundation that set up the memorial in Washington, D.C. puts the candlelight vigil on, which is happening tomorrow night. And they're going to dedicate 363 names of officers, fallen officers, who gave their life in the line of duty for their community. And when you see just the amount of people who show up to these events, the amount of support that the community gives to law enforcement, it really humbles you because there's so many people that are out supporting us, and you don't always hear that. Usually, you'll hear from 10% of the people who, are not fans of the police, but the 90% are pretty silent until events like this happen and weeks like this happen, and people they really honor just the courage and the sacrifice and the dedication that our law enforcement officers do across this nation. I've been there when they've dedicated the names before, personally myself, and the families are there as well, the families of the fallen officers. I know a few of the names that are on the memorial, and I know several of the families who've lost a loved one that was serving their community. And it really honors the families because it's such a loss. Their families didn't sign up for that, but the officers did. And we just have to be thankful and grateful for the people that are out there serving, putting themselves in harm's way every single day for us. And for 31 years, I worked next to people of such amazing courage and character who are full of acts of restraint and just acts of compassion and really, really care about their community. And so for that kind of service to be honored, it's not what we signed up for, to be recognized, but I'll tell you, when it happens, it really means a lot, and it really is encouraging and lifts up those who serve.
And it's extremely heartwarming as well, as you mentioned, when you see so many people from the community showing up to honor those who served. I mean, but this is just a short period, National Police Week. How do we honor these officers, not just for these few days, but throughout the year? What are some additional ways you would say we can honor officers in a manner that feels meaningful to those who served?
I always appreciated anytime a citizen came up to me and just said, "Thank you, officer, for what you're doing. We really appreciate it." It meant the world to me. Or to receive a letter from the victim of a crime or somebody that you helped. Just when somebody takes the time to write a letter and to say, hey, thank you, that's what keeps you going. It's just it's the goodness that's in humanity. It's the goodness that's in our communities. And when you bring that forward to the officers, don't be afraid to do it. Don't be afraid to walk up to a black and white and say, hey, thanks for the job that you're doing, because you're going to encourage that officer every single day, and that they receive something like that. And they need it too. It's going to be right at the right time that they'll need it, because there's a lot of tough days in that job. And we can't do it alone. We need the support of our community, and we really appreciate the support of our communities.
Okay, so you're saying you need the support of the community. Can you talk to us about how trust is built then between departments and communities?
Trust, the badges, that's a mantle. That's a mantle of trust. That badge represents trust. And so it's up to us to always behave in a manner that earns that trust of the community, that people know that they can trust the police. And you do that by serving them, by being their servants, by being humble, by just really putting yourself out there for the community. And then likewise, when the community comes together with the police and that trust happens, and they're able to help police their own neighborhoods, that's paramount. Because it's all about us working together. Not just one side can do it alone. We have to be there with the community who helps us, who supports us, who are there to let us know about issues in their neighborhoods, issues that they're concerned with, public safety issues. Because it's our job to make people feel safe. It's our job to get rid of the things that cause fear in communities. And so I think as you do that, the trust begins to happen. And as you have interactions with police, we're just normal people. We are no different than anybody else in our communities, other than we've taken that oath to protect and serve and to be there for those in their time of need. But you'll find it's helpful to humanize this profession, humanize our police officers for who they really are. They're fathers, mothers, brothers, sons, daughters, and they're just out there trying to do their best to help a community that they love.
Yeah, that is so true. We need to humanize people who serve our country, including police officers. And you said earlier, a simple thank you can even go a long way. But what about for those people who want to do more than just saying thank you? What can they do? How can communities better support, their local police departments year round?
Well, there's different programs that agencies offer that allow community to come in to get involved. There's citizen academies that some of the departments put on. I know they did it in my agency, and that's a neat way to just inform people of what we're doing. As far as this week, there's National Law Enforcement Memorial Foundation, which people can go to. You can go to their website and you can donate. You can donate for, everything costs money, but it's a really great opportunity to donate towards something that's very meaningful and is going to be there, for a very, very long time. And to walk into the square where they have this memorial, it overwhelms you. For me, it's just very overwhelming, and it's just very surreal almost, but very honoring. And that's one way people can do that as well. So there's several ways to help out. Police officers, law enforcement, they're not going to ask for much ever. They're there to serve, and that's just our hearts. We're used to giving and not receiving much, but there are ways that you can go to in your local community that would help out. And one of the other ways is I run a nonprofit now called 911 at Ease International, and we help first responders with post-traumatic stress. And we're there for the people so that they can be strong and at their best to serve their communities. And so if somebody wants to go to 911 at Ease International, our website is 911aei.org, and you're able to donate to something that really matters, something that helps first responders across this nation. And you hear about the loss of lives from the officers who are killed in the line of duty, but there's more officers who actually take their own life because of the post-traumatic stress, because of the things that they have to witness as they go out and they serve, the layered trauma that will just compile on them. And it's a silent killer, really. But when you're able to support somebody in that way, then you're able to really make a difference in their lives, in their families' lives, and in the community. The community, they end up with it's a really positive outcome because you have somebody that's out there that is functioning at their best, and they're not worried about other issues that may be haunting them just because of the layered trauma. And when I got on this job, you were told, hey, it's a tough job, suck it up and do your best. And we did, but that trauma is there and it's going to affect people. And it affected me. I know that, and several other people that I knew. And that's why we started this nonprofit, was to help folks that are in that type of situation. So I think that's another really good way to help keep your first responders strong. Reach out, make an impact on your department that serves your community, and then also make an impact in the community's public safety overall.
Yeah, I have so much respect on the work that you do with 911 at Ease International. I have so much respect for that. And speaking of which, maybe if you don't mind, you could talk to us a bit more about your own journey, if possible. What inspired you to join law enforcement, and what would you tell younger people who may be thinking of joining law enforcement?
Well, I come from a long line of public safety servants from Los Angeles. We have 4 generations of public service, public safety personnel in our family, and over 350 years. So I was no stranger to it. I actually wanted to be a firefighter at the start, but I was glad that I got steered over towards the police side of it because it was a fit for me. And, the most important thing to do for somebody who wants to be a police officer is to start doing things now, make the right choices right now, so that when you go into a background investigation and, because they do extensive background investigations, you're going to be ready. You're going to be able to pass that. To be of service to your community right now is another important aspect of people who we, in the industry that we're looking for. We want to see people who do serve, who don't just talk the talk, but they're walking the walk the whole time. So just personal integrity is very important, and just a servant's heart, in the actions that you take to help others, that really helps for somebody that's applying for this position or wants to be in law enforcement. And I would recommend, if it's on your heart, that you look into it and look into all the aspects, the good and the bad, and know what you're getting into. But know that when you do get into this profession, there's nothing like it. And you are going to work with some amazing people. I just love the people that I worked with. I worked homicide for a lot of years, so I got to go across the nation on different cases, and there wasn't an agency that I just didn't, just respect the people that were working at these different agencies across the country. So it's quite, it can be very exciting at times, but it also can be very challenging. And if you are coming into this profession, always know that we do need to talk to somebody. We are going to have to reach out and talk to somebody, and that's why 911 at Ease International exists. Is that we set up a confidential way for people just to call and be hooked up to get the help that they need. But there's nothing wrong with a person when they do reach out. We always feel very isolated when we're hit with the impacts of trauma, but nobody's isolated. We're all people, And a police officer, an average person is probably going to go through about 3 to 5 traumatic events in their life. And that's where the cortisol comes out. You have a dump of cortisol. That's what gives you the shakes after an incident. And it's a great mechanism. It's the fight or flight mechanism that defends us. But a police officer will go through over 200 of those incidents in their career. And so there's a lot of cortisol that comes out, and it's not healthy. It does tear down the immune system, and it does cause damage to a person's body. And that's why police officers they're not going to live as long as the normal life expectancy of their community. But there's just ways to deal with that. I know that, a lot of these things are coming to the forefront. I'm very grateful that there's things that are out there now that I didn't have as I was serving. And, and that comes from people who care. That's just another way that people just show their gratitude to those who are out there serving.
Yeah, I mean, from your description, it really sounds like a selfless job that these Americans are taking on. And if I may, I just want to ask you one more question. You said earlier that being a law enforcement officer has its highs, has its lows, exciting times, and has its challenges as well. What is your message to those who are experiencing harder times right now? What would you say to them?
My message is that you're not alone. Trauma will bring you to a place of isolation and a place where you think that things are happening to you that have never happened to anybody else. But the symptoms are very common in all of us. And, to have the courage to reach out and make a phone call, that's important, because if you don't, it's only going to get worse. And so, there's a lot of support that's out there. We're here to support you. There's other resources that are there to support you. There's several peer support programs as well, and a lot of the agencies. But, we have to keep ourselves strong and at our best if we really want to take care of other people. So sometimes there's a time that you do have to worry about, how you got to put yourself first and take care of yourself. Otherwise, you're not going to be there for anybody else. And that includes your family, that includes your community and your agency that you work for. And most of all, I've just seen how much courage it takes to make a phone call sometimes. If you're there, make the phone call, because it's going to be life-changing. And there's hope. There is always hope, no matter what the situation looks like. There's people there for you, and they want to help you.
And let me just echo your message. If anyone is going through hard times, you don't have to go through it alone. Sergeant McGrew, really appreciate your comments today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The Senate has confirmed Kevin Warsh's nomination for a 14-year term on the Federal Reserve's Board of Governors. We'll tell you more about this after the break. Stay with us.
With Select Specs £6 specs, you can get 10 pairs of prescription glasses for just £60. That includes frames, prescription lenses, and delivery free to your door. And what makes this really special is each pair can have a different prescription. So it's glasses for everyone. SelectSpecs.com/£6. 10 frames, all with prescription lenses and delivery for just £60. You don't get that on the high street. Right now you can save an extra 5% with offer code CG5OFF.
Today's seniors are enjoying life more than ever before, and part of that comes from the independence of driving.
However, car insurance for older drivers becomes more expensive the older we get.
Just because I'm a senior, and maybe you are too, do we really have to pay outrageously high insurance rates? Well, the answer is no, we don't.
When was the last time you checked to make sure you're paying the lowest available rate? Well, maybe it's time to give your car insurance a tune-up, just to make sure your rates are running properly.
You change your oil, you change your tires, well, maybe it's time to change your car's insurance company.
Are you paying too much for your auto insurance? If so, you're just throwing your money away.
So the only way to really know if you're paying too much is to call the number on your screen.
1-800-952-5196. 1-800-952-5196.
You'll speak with a licensed insurance agent. They may have an insurance plan that could lower your yearly premiums by hundreds of dollars.
Seniors can save money on their car insurance.
So call right now and find out just how much money you might be able to save.
Come on, call now.
You may be able to save a lot of money, maybe hundreds of dollars a year. Just call the number on your screen and speak with a licensed insurance agent.
Yes, it is possible for seniors to save on car insurance. You could lower your premiums by hundreds of dollars a year.
As a responsible driver, you always check your gauges, right? And you check for other cars and pedestrians. You check your oil and you check your mirrors.
Well, now is the time to check on your auto insurance rates. You need to make sure that you're not paying more than you need to. Call the number on your screen right now.
1-800-952-5196. 1-800-952-5196.
Is deep-sea fish oil really healthy? Due to pollution in the oceans, most fish contain heavy metal elements and radioactive substances. That's why it's so important to choose a pure source of omega-3. Puritan Green Vegetable Omega-3 is made from purslane and perilla seeds, which are rich in nutrients and minerals. It effectively improves brain power and is beneficial to the heart's health. Puritan Green Vegetable Omega-3. Eat 2 a day and you'll feel brand new.
Data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics shows annual inflation rose to 3.8% in April. Economists have forecast a jump to 3.7%. Core inflation, which excludes volatile energy and food prices, edged up to 2.8%. On a month-to-month basis, April prices rose 0.6% from March, with gas prices rising 5.4%. Grocery prices rose 0.7%. Labor Department data showed gas prices are up more than 28% compared to a year ago. AAA reports an average gas price above $4.50 a gallon. The Senate has confirmed Kevin Warsh's nomination for a 14-year term on the Federal Reserve's Board of Governors. A vote on his confirmation for a concurrent 4-year term as Fed chair could take place as soon as tomorrow. Warsh is expected to replace Powell, whose term as Fed chair ends on Friday. Warsh has faced questions over whether he would resist pressure from President Trump to cut interest rates. He responded saying the Federal Reserve must remain independent, telling senators he made no agreement with President Trump on interest rates before being nominated. Immigration and Customs Enforcement has identified more than 10,000 cases of potential fraud. We have more news after this break.
This is how I keep my joints happy.
Omega XL is a powerful natural supplement backed by 40 years of clinical research. Take control of your pain, like Cynthia Bailey.
My knees in particular started giving me pain issues all the way back to my modeling days, from just running through airports, photo shoots. After taking Omega XL, I really started to notice how less stiff I was, especially my knees and my hip. Has Omega XL changed my life? Yes. I barely notice my joint pain anymore. Now I'm like literally sprinting through the airports. My secret is Omega XL.
Pick up the phone and call now to get this exclusive TV offer. Buy one Omega XL and we'll send you a second bottle absolutely free. You'll also get a free bottle of Vitamin XL D3. Buy one, get two free. A total value of over $115, all for just $49.95. You save more than 55% and shipping is free. Backed by a money-back guarantee and is not available in stores. Operators are standing by, so call now.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
They're just young people, hungry, homeless,
and vulnerable. Abused youth often feel safer on the street. Now, more than ever, that's the most dangerous place of all. Covenant House is helping young adults facing homelessness. We're providing safe shelter to thousands, but the need is overwhelming, and no young person is ever turned away. Please call or go online now with your gift of $19 a month to help a young person. You'll provide safe shelter, hot meals, and medical care. Your gift will show them they're loved. Homeless young people are afraid and alone with nowhere else to turn.
You want to know that there's somewhere you can go that's safe. So the Covenant House did that for us.
Please call now with your gift of $19 a month. We'll send you this blanket as a reminder of the comfort your gift provides a young person tonight. Please don't wait. Your gift is the lifeline a young person needs now. Call the number on your screen or go online to safeplacetosleep.org. Thank you for saving precious lives.
Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Don Ma. President Trump heads to Beijing for a major summit with China, with trade, Taiwan, and Iran expected to dominate the talks. A mayor in California agrees to plead guilty to acting as a CCP agent. Prosecutors say she spread Chinese regime propaganda, denying human rights abuses in Xinjiang and more. Pete Hegseth is back in Congress with the Pentagon's $1.5 trillion budget request. The current operation in Iran, along with the threat from China and Russia, remain the primary focus. Jason Blair reports. Immigration and Customs Enforcement has identified more than 10,000 cases of potential fraud related to a foreign students program. Two new state battles unfold today over redistricting maps, the latest in the race for the most potential congressional seats ahead of the 2026 midterms. The number of individuals infected with the Hantavirus is expected to rise, while the U.S. and the WHO say there's no major risk to the general public.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Thank you for joining us. President Trump is on his way to Beijing for a major summit with Chinese Communist Party leader Xi Jinping. Trade, Taiwan, AI, and the conflict in Iran are all expected to be on the agenda. The president is also bringing some of America's biggest business and tech leaders along for the trip. NTD's Washington correspondent Jack Bradley joins us. Jack, what's the White House hoping to accomplish in this trip?
Well, they're saying trade, new trade deals making up for that $200 billion deficit that they have with China. The new trade agreements will include, U.S. major buys of U.S. Goods, including soybeans, beef, other farm products. The U.S. may also sell potentially hundreds of Boeing commercial aircraft to China and perhaps increase purchases of U.S. oil and liquid natural gas. Now, during this trip, Trump will be accompanied by 16 tech CEOs, including Elon Musk, Apple's Tim Cook, also business CEOs as well, like BlackRock's Larry Fink and several others. Now, President Trump's also expected to raise many other sensitive issues, like the conflict in Iran. Here's what he said earlier today.
Well, I think, number one, we're going to have a long talk about it. I think he's been relatively good, to be honest with you. You look at the blockade, no problem. They get a lot of their oil from that area. We've had no problem, and he's been a friend of mine. He's been somebody that we get along with, and I think you're going to see that good things are going to happen. This is going to be a very exciting trip. A lot of good things are going to happen. Mr. President.
Do you think he needs to intervene at all with the Iranians?
I don't think
he
he does.
can help in any way?
No, I don't think we need any help with Iran. We'll win it one way or the other.
Now, as you can see from that press gaggle there was no shortage of reporters. President Trump went down the line of dozens and dozens of reporters answering many of their questions before taking off toward Beijing. Now, China has a huge incentive to push Iran to pursue a peace deal with the U.S. China buys up to 90% of Iran's oil, and that supply has been cut off now for a month after the U.S. imposed a naval blockade on Iranian ports. And the Strait of Hormuz, which accounts for almost half of China's oil imports, it's essentially closed down, not just for China, but for every country due to the threat of Iranian attacks on commercial ships and those landmines they placed in the water. Now, but even so, President Trump says that he won't need Xi's help to get Iran to accept a peace deal. Take a look.
President Xi can help and contribute to a deal with Iran?
He could. I mean, it might be.
Yeah.
I don't think we need any help with Iran, to be honest with you. They're defeated militarily, and they'll either do the right thing or we'll finish the job.
Now, China has supplied Iran with technology used in its military drones and missiles. It's also supplied Russia with 70% of its technology used in their weapon systems in the war with Ukraine. But on the flip side of all of this, the Trump administration approved an $11 billion weapon sale to Taiwan in December. Now, Trump says that this will come up during the trip. That's as Xi Jinping has stated his intention to take over Taiwan by force if necessary. But keep in mind, Taiwan is the world's largest chip producer. It's necessary for all electronics. But they're also, more importantly, a self-governing democracy. Now, the Trump administration, with his purchase or sale to Taiwan of this $11 billion weapons package, was reiterated by the Taiwanese president just yesterday, releasing this message ahead of President Trump's trip. Watch.
I would like to thank the United States for helping us strengthen our defense capabilities as part of its unwavering commitment to security. Democracy is one of the values that links Taiwan to the world, and it is Taiwan's most precious asset.
Now, in this U.S. delegation, meanwhile, by the way, it's President Trump's first time back in almost a decade. He's the first, Biden didn't go during his term to China, but Secretary of State Marco Rubio is expected to be part of this U.S. delegation to China. China sanctioned Rubio back in 2020 for introducing bills as a senator when he targeted the Chinese Communist Party's crackdown on political dissidents in Hong Kong, slavery camps for Muslim Uyghurs in Xinjiang, and also for the bills he introduced to stop the forced organ harvesting in China, the state-sanctioned forced organ harvesting of Falun Gong practitioners. Now, China will be waiving those sanctions on Rubio for this visit. Trump also said that he'll bring up the cases of imprisoned Hong Kong publisher Jimmy Lai and Chinese pastor Ezra Jin. Now, Xi Jinping is expected to visit Washington later this year after we see where all the chips fall after this summit. Don, back to you.
Okay, Jack, thank you. And now joining us to discuss Trump's two-day trip in Beijing is Kevin Freeman, host of the Economic War Room. So Kevin, thank you so much for joining us today. Good afternoon to you. Now, I want to ask you, so President Trump earlier said when he was talking to reporters before he departed that trade will be a big topic of discussion when he meets with Xi Jinping. My question to you is, now this is coming amid human rights advocates calling on Trump to raise issues relating to China's human rights abuses. What do you see is the right balance of talking about trade and China's human rights abuses?
Well, I think in the Trump administration's perspective that trade and human rights are intimately tied. Not only that, trade, we're in a stronger position because they export more to us than we export to them. And so they're going to use trade as a weapon to force China to take the right stance on Iran, on human rights issues, and so forth. I think from the president's perspective, trade is his big stick. And if we stop buying Chinese goods, he realizes that's going to hurt China. And so I think that is the beginning and the end of these talks, is to achieve his objectives using trade and tariffs and all of that as a weapon.
Okay, so Kevin, I think you said something really important, that the U.S. is going into this with a stronger position than China. Is that what you said?
I absolutely believe that. China has a demographic problem long term. They have a population problem short term, to where if they don't get their economy moving in a positive direction, and they're completely dependent. They've followed a mercantilist strategy to economic growth. And if they don't continue to sell goods and services to other countries, they're going to be in a world of hurt. And they're already in a world of hurt because they have lost access to a lot of the energy inputs that they need to make their economy hum. So yes, I believe President Trump is in the stronger position. Our economy is larger, our military capabilities are superior, and I believe that he's using trade here to achieve other objectives beyond just the economic ones.
Okay, so you're saying the U.S. will use trade as a point of leverage, as a stick, if you will. What would be China's response if President Trump said, if you don't improve your human rights record, we're not going to do business with you? What is going to be Beijing's response if Trump said that?
Well, that I can't predict, but I know what they should do. They're in a very precarious situation. They've harmed their own people. The Chinese Communist Party is a minority of the population. It's not extremely popular, and especially unpopular when you're not growing your economy. The demographics, as I mentioned earlier, are terrible. I don't know what their response is going to be, but I know what it should be. They should essentially straighten up and listen to the president, because he's a reasonable guy and he will cut deals with them. They just need to listen and take him very, very seriously.
Okay, so Kevin, I'm not an expert on this, but when we see the president joined by more than a dozen CEOs and company executives, what does that mean? What does it signify?
Well, it depends on which CEOs and companies they are, and we've looked at the list. I think NVIDIA's CEO is not in attendance there, but it signifies that we're open for business if you're a good, solid member of the world economic community. And I think he's saying this is the clout and the power and the authority that we have. Certainly, we need Chinese manufacturing. Apple's CEO is going to be there and want to make certain that we get all the goods and services that we need to make Apple phones and computers and so forth. But it is a position of strength. He's walking in with a position of strength and showing that we've got the world's leading corporations.
So in your view, is it possible or is it not possible to have both economic cooperation with China at the same time confronting the CCP's human rights violations?
Oh, I think it's entirely possible, and I believe that that's always an undercurrent with President Trump. He wants to make certain. Now, again, he's a business guy, and he strikes deals, and sometimes deals require compromises that you wouldn't otherwise make. He is a business guy, but I believe he's going in a position of strength, and I believe that he's made it clear in his public statements that human rights matter also. You can't do business with people who are unreasonable. And look at Iran. They were acting unreasonably in the murder of such a large number of people in January and so forth. And he said, no, you can't continue this. I think he's walking in with a position of strength. I believe he'll take both economics and the human rights situation into account.
Okay, so let me present this argument to you. If you're saying that it's possible to both have economic cooperation with China and confront its human rights abuses, the argument is if you're giving money to China, doesn't that mean you're actually enabling China's ability to carry out its human rights abuses?
Well, you can make that argument, and I could understand why you might make it, but I would also make the argument that you can't steer a parked car. You've got to have some dialogue, conversation, motion. You have to have some ability. I mean, you certainly can't walk in and threaten, we'll drop a nuclear weapon on you, because they would retaliate, and it's mutually assured destruction. So you have to show where you have leverage, where you have capabilities, and in order to obtain some progress on the human rights side. And I believe that's exactly what I said the president's doing, and I believe that's exactly what he will do.
Okay, how can the administration ensure that China will hold up its end of any agreements? Because if you look back to I think Trump's first term, they don't have a very good track record.
No, I understand. I get it. Dealing with the Chinese Communist Party, which is inherently violating human rights and doing evil things. I wrote a whole book about this, according to plan, where the Chinese Communist Party is a threat to the world, and I seriously believe that. Having said that, I believe that the best approach is negotiation. The president's doing it. He's going to walk in with the big stick and the carrot, and he's going to be, if anybody can be successful, President Trump will be successful here.
Okay, just one final question here. China has consistently offered support in various forms to other nations that are currently at war, Iran, for example, and who also oppose the U.S. So the president has used threats of sanctions against Beijing to try to prevent this. Just finally, how effective has the use of sanctions been against China?
Mixed. It's absolutely mixed, but you've got to use what you have at your disposal and what you're doing. And so I'm not defending the Chinese Communist regime at all. But what I am doing is suggesting that the president is taking very logical, well thought through steps using the leverage that he has. And he's going, if anybody has a chance to accomplish something good here, it will be the president. Will he get everything he wants? I doubt it. Will he advance the talks and the objectives? I absolutely believe it.
Well, all right, Kevin, I really enjoyed this conversation. Really appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Immigration and Customs Enforcement has identified more than 10,000 cases of potential fraud related to a foreign student program that ICE says is only the tip of the iceberg. We have more news after this break. Stay with us.
This spring, New York City comes alive. A celebration of faith, culture, and freedom of belief. Thousands take to the streets of Manhattan to share a message you don't want to miss. Tune in to NTD's special live coverage of the 2026 World Fallen Dafa Day Parade. Tomorrow, May 13th at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. Live from New York City, only on NTD.
Whispered across generations, a hidden secret unveils the essence of longevity and vitality, a timeless legend regarding energy and wonder. Rooted in ancient health wisdom, we proudly introduce Pure Tang Black Ginseng, a 100% natural organic energy drink made from premium 6-year-old Korean ginseng. It takes 2,260 days and nights from seed to growth, undergoing a meticulous 9-step process of steaming and drying. Black ginseng reaches its full potency, enriched with ginsenoside RG3 and enhanced absorption efficiency. No sugar, no caffeine, no artificial ingredients. Experience the pure natural power of Pure Tang Black Ginseng. Nourish your body, strengthen your immunity, and boost your energy. To order Pure Tang Black Ginseng, please visit puretang.com.
I was a young dad of 3 amazing kids. I was finally following my dreams. Just when you feel like life is starting to come together, you get kind of hit in the face. I was born with a congenital heart defect and had open heart surgery as a kid. I was supposed to go to the heart doctor once a year. And I finally went. He listened to my heart, and I'll never forget, he sat back and he said, yeah, it's time for open heart surgery, or you risk your aorta rupturing, and that's it. I was scared out of my mind. The night before my open heart surgery, I made a goodbye video for my kids.
Be strong. Take care of your mom. I love you guys.
Seeing, all the kids hug him goodbye and hoping that they were going to be able to hug him again.
I love you. But I did make it, thanks to the work of the American Heart Association. So that's why I'm asking you to join me. Please call now or go to helpheart.org. For only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can help get the next person trained in CPR, get the next hospital certified in high-quality cardiovascular care, as well as fund the next medical breakthrough like these heart valves that helped save my life. When you give $19 a month with your credit card, we'll send you this special t-shirt to show you're a part of our community of monthly donors.
I'm most grateful that I get to have a husband that I get to grow old with, and a husband that gets to be there for his children.
I believe without the American Heart Association, I would not be here today. If this can happen to me, it can happen to you, it can happen to anybody. Your donation can literally help save a life. Please call the number on your screen or go to helpheart.org now to become a monthly donor.
Immigration and Customs Enforcement has identified more than 10,000 cases of potential fraud related to a foreign students program. ICE Acting Director Todd Lyons outlining the findings.
While many foreign students legitimately pursue degrees, our nation will not tolerate security threats originating from the foreign student program. We've encountered cases involving espionage, biological threats, intellectual property theft, visa and employment fraud, and even scams targeting elderly Americans.
The results come from an investigation into fraud associated with the optional practical training program. The program allows foreign students to extend their stay in the United States for up to 2 years after graduating from college. Lyons said over 10,000 foreign students claim to be working for highly respected or highly suspect employers, and that they expect to find many more. Agents conducted site visits across 8 states, including Virginia, Texas, New York, and Florida. Redistricting battles are intensifying across the country ahead of the 2026 midterms, with new battles unfolding today in both Missouri and South Carolina. NTD's Ricketts has more.
Increasingly, the battle for control of Congress is unfolding not only at the ballot box, but in courtrooms and state houses across the country. In Missouri, Tuesday, 7 justices on the state Supreme Court heard arguments over whether a new congressional map violates the state constitution.
At issue in this case are the Missouri Constitution's mandatory requirements for congressional redistricting. That each and every district be as compact as may be, the subject of our first claim, and that every district be equally populated and contiguous.
A separate issue is whether Missouri can redraw congressional maps mid-decade. New maps are typically drawn every 10 years after updated census data becomes available. Opponents argue the proposed map is designed to give Republicans control of 7 of Missouri's 8 congressional districts. Meanwhile, in South Carolina, the state Senate is expected to vote on whether to move forward with its own mid-decade redistricting effort. President Trump weighed in on Truth Social Monday, saying he was counting on their elected leaders to use every legal and constitutional authority they have to stop the radical left Democrats from destroying our country. Republicans have increasingly focused on redistricting as a path to protecting their House majority ahead of the 2026 midterms. They could target up to 14 additional seats nationwide, while Democrats are targeting about 6. Democrats are also hoping the U.S. Supreme Court will allow Virginia to implement a new congressional map that could favor Democrats and potentially add 4 seats. Several Republican-led states, including Tennessee, Florida, and Texas, have already advanced new maps, while Democrats are pursuing legal challenges and redraw efforts in states like New York and California. Arlene Richards, NTD News.
Vice President J.D. Vance will travel to Maine on Thursday to deliver remarks on the Trump administration's efforts to tackle fraud. His visit to Bangor follows a Health Department Inspector General audit earlier this year. The Inspector General's report found that Maine made at least $45 million in improper fee-for-service Medicaid payments for services provided to children diagnosed with autism. The HHS audit found that some services were provided without required comprehensive assessments of children. Other assessments didn't have the required signatures of staff, parents, or guardians. Vance's visit comes also as Maine Senator Susan Collins defends her seat from challenger Graham Plattner. Dr. Marty Makary is no longer the commissioner of the Food and Drug Administration. President Trump confirmed earlier efforts of reports of Makary's departure while speaking outside the White House ahead of his trip to China. Trump declined to say whether Makary resigned or was fired. Makary had faced criticism from companies, lobbyists, and others for agency officials declining to approve certain drugs. His exit comes as Trump has seen some of his health nominees stall in the Senate, including his pick for Surgeon General Dr. Casey Means. Trump recently announced he was withdrawing her nomination, tapping Dr. Nicole Safier as his new nominee. FDA Deputy Commissioner for Food Kyle Dementas will serve as the agency's acting commissioner. The World Health Organization says there's no need to worry about the latest spread of the Hantavirus, despite the fact that the number of infected individuals is still expected to rise. NTD's international correspondent Arian Pasdar has the latest on the virus.
At the moment, there is no sign that we are seeing the start of a larger outbreak.
The head of the WHO on Tuesday, speaking alongside the president of Spain. The Hantavirus risk level is currently low, but the numbers could still change according to the WHO.
Given the long incubation period of the virus, it's possible we might see more cases in the coming weeks.
He went on to explain why exactly the number of confirmed cases is still expected to rise.
There was a lot of interaction actually with the passengers, and as you know, the incubation period is also 6 to 8 weeks. So because of the interaction while they were still in the ship, especially before they started taking some infectious prevention measures, because of the interaction, we would expect more cases.
Still, the United States is confident the virus doesn't pose a risk to the general public at this point, as Health Secretary RFK Jr. made clear on Monday.
We have this under control and we're not worried about it.
But it looks like it's just a disease that we've had around in a very small way for a long time. Not a good one to catch because, you know, it's a very severe disease if you catch it, but it's very hard to catch.
Over a dozen American cruise passengers are currently in quarantine in Nebraska. Officials say none of them are showing symptoms. Arian Pastar, NTD News.
And a disturbing story of a U.S. politician doing the bidding of communist China. The Justice Department saying a California mayor has agreed to plead guilty to operating as an agent for the CCP. NTD's Daniel Monahan has the details of yet another troubling case of Beijing attempting to influence events in the U.S.
Arcadia Mayor Eileen Wong resigned yesterday from her position after being charged with secretly carrying out the directives of a foreign government. Wong was voted onto the Arcadia City Council in November 2022 and was mayor when the charges were brought. The position of mayor rotates among the 5-member council. Arcadia is about 13 miles northeast of downtown Los Angeles. Wong resigned following the announcement of the charges. Court documents say Wong and her fiancé and campaign treasurer Yao Ning Mike Soon of Chino Hills worked on behalf of instructions from Chinese regime operatives from late 2020 through 2022. The two ran a site called U.S. News Center, marketed to the local Chinese American community as a news outlet. But prosecutors say in reality, it was used to spread CCP propaganda. According to Wong's plea agreement, a Chinese official sent her pre-written content on WeChat in 2021, denying genocide and forced labor allegations in Xinjiang and accusing critics of trying to undermine China. Prosecutors say Wong uploaded the article to her website within minutes and sent the link to the official, to which he replied, "So fast, thank you everyone." By August 2021, prosecutors say Wong was editing articles at an official's request and forwarding screenshots showing how many views the articles were receiving. After a post showed over 15,000 views, the official said, "Great," and Wong wrote back, "Thank you, leader." Wong acknowledged in her plea agreement that she never notified the Attorney General that she was working as a CCP operative, and she never disclosed on her website that some of its content had been published at the direction of CCP officials. Court filings also show Wong corresponded in November 2021 with John Chen, identified as a senior figure in the CCP's intelligence structure, who attended elite CCP functions and met personally with Chinese leader Xi Jinping. Chen was sentenced in November 2024 to 20 months in federal prison after pleading guilty to acting as an illegal Chinese agent and conspiracy to bribe a public official. Wong faces up to 10 years in prison. The FBI commented on the case, saying it will continue working to safeguard the integrity of elections and keep hostile actors from undermining the voices of the American people. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
A grand jury has indicted 2 companies and an individual for their roles in the 2024 collision between a cargo ship and Baltimore's Francis Scott Key Bridge. The crash killed 6 construction workers and destroyed the bridge.
Today, the United States unsealed an indictment charging 3 defendants, Synergy Marine Private Limited, Synergy Maritime Private Limited, and Radha Krishnan Karthik Nair, with crimes related to the disaster, including conspiracy, violations of the Ports and Waterways Safety Act, misconduct or neglect of ship officers resulting in death, and obstruction, among others.
The Justice Department said the collision caused billions of dollars in damage and significant environmental harm. According to the indictment, the defendants allegedly relied on a flushing pump to supply fuel to 2 of the Dali's 4 generators, but the pump was not designed to automatically restart following a blackout. The Dali's generators were unable to operate without a fuel supply, leading to a second blackout. The indictment alleges that if the Dali had used the appropriate fuel pumps, the vessel would have regained power in time to pass safely under the Key Bridge. PayPal reaching a $30 million settlement with the Justice Department. This comes after the DOJ investigated the platform and its DEI investment program. The probe centers around the Economic Opportunity Fund PayPal launched in 2020. It invests in Black and minority-owned businesses. The DOJ calls the program discriminatory, saying it gave a preference to businesses based on race, color, and national origin. In reaching the settlement, PayPal agrees that race should play no part in determining which small businesses deserve its investment. As part of the settlement, PayPal will launch a new small business initiative that excludes criteria based on race. The initiative will waive processing fees worth roughly $30 million. It will apply to eligible American small businesses that are veteran-owned or engaged in farming, manufacturing, or technology. The DOJ says in a statement, quote, "American corporations are on notice. You will face our aggressive enforcement if you use race or national origin to discriminate against qualified Americans." Pete Hegseth is in the Congress back with the Pentagon's $1.5 trillion budget request. The current operation in Iran, along with the threat from Russia and China, remain the primary focus. Jason Blair reports after this break.
There is a road laid out for me.
Boxes everywhere. And this is gonna be Addie's room.
I am blind,
You're really gonna like it.
I hope so. Yeah. I know this road is there for me. There is a long way.
First night here, but Amy seems cool.
The way it's down by the river. I am blind, but I need not see.
I got this.
I know this road is there for me.
Okay.
If I'm really free, take me down to the river and wash me.
Being a cowboy, I don't know anything different from when I was 3 or 4 years old. I did tough things. I thought everybody needed to do tough things, and if you didn't, I didn't have time for it. I had a very successful career at a very young age, and life was fast. I was preparing physically. I wasn't doing anything mentally on the inside. And then I got hurt. I wanted to be better as a person, and I really dug into mental health. I start my day with 20-minute workouts. I live life 8 seconds at a time. Horses are so therapeutic. They know what you're feeling. When you're nervous, they're nervous. You won't say it back, but we're pals. I take a lot of responsibility in taking care of my kids, my family, and being there for them. You're gonna have tough days. Everybody does. Find a place to stop and just breathe. Love your mind.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. My grandpa Lou is the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. And in our family, we're used to getting involved, and I encourage you to do the same, especially when it comes to caring for your loved ones. When I think about Alzheimer's and the impact it had on my family, I recognize that losing a race isn't such a bad day after all. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough, but if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
The Department of Energy announced it will release more than 53 million barrels of oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. This is part of the U.S.'s pledge to add 172 million barrels to the international market. More than 30 countries are also included in an initiative that focuses on bringing roughly 400 million barrels of oil to the world. The Strait of Hormuz remained restricted amid the Iran war. Waterway carries about 1/5 of the world's natural gas and oil supply. Pete Hegseth back on the Hill. The Secretary of War was in the double-header budget hearings, China, Russia, and Iran dominating the agenda. NTD correspondent Jason Blair has the key takeaways.
The $1.5 trillion budget will ensure the United States continues to maintain the world's most powerful and capable military as we grapple with a complex threat environment across multiple theaters.
Secretary of War Pete Hegseth before Congress Tuesday for back-to-back budget hearings in both the House and Senate. China, Russia, and Iran remain the primary focus.
China is modernizing its military at a pace and scale that is alarming.
The current threat environment facing the United States is as serious and as layered as anything I have witnessed during my time in Congress.
Hegseth says keeping Iran from having nuclear capabilities is still a high priority.
Iran has effectively tried to use the North Korea strategy with such overwhelming capabilities conventionally that no one would dare prevent them from pursuing a nuclear weapon. And it took President Trump to have the courage to make that historic decision.
Rep. Rosa DeLauro says she'd prefer to have the administration focus on the cost of living rather than a large military budget.
With gas prices and inflation numbers increasing, the American people just want to afford the basic necessities for everyday life. But this administration is not doing anything to help them with the cost of living crisis.
In the Senate, how to deter and protect against a possible invasion of Taiwan by China was brought up by Senator Jerry Moran.
One of the things that is seemingly clear to me is that Taiwan remains at the forefront of the Chinese efforts, next steps in what they want to accomplish.
Through the president's leadership, we've reestablished deterrence. The world knows that America's word means something. And when you do that, plus build out your alliances, all the right people pay attention to that and see it. And that's been the focus in the Indo-Pacific.
Reporting in Washington, D.C., Jason Blair, NTD News.
The Justice Department investigating Iran war media leaks is subpoenaing the Wall Street Journal, the news agency saying they oppose the subpoenas. The newspaper says the grand jury subpoenas ask for reporters' records about a report from February 23rd. The report was about comments from General Dan Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, just 5 days before Operation Epic Fury began. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche saying, quote, prosecuting leakers who share our nation's secrets with reporters, in turn risking our national security and the lives of our soldiers, is a priority for this administration. The Wall Street Journal reacting to the subpoenas, calling them an attack on constitutionally protected news gathering. The paper says, quote, we will vigorously oppose this effort to stifle and intimidate essential reporting. Next, an accusation from Kuwait. Officials there saying Iran sent an armed Revolutionary Guard team to carry out a failed attack earlier this month on Bubayan Island. It's home to a China-funded port project tied to Beijing's Belt and Road Initiative. Kuwaiti officials say 6 armed men attempted to infiltrate the island on May 1st. Authorities described their planned actions as hostile acts. 4 suspects were detained while 2 escaped during the operation. Kuwait says one of its security officers was wounded. Officials provided no reason for why they delayed linking the attack to Iran. No public response yet from Iran on the accusations. Meanwhile, Ambassador Mike Huckabee saying that today Israel sent Iron Dome anti-missile batteries along with personnel to operate them to the United Arab Emirates.
Both states have now understood that they're going to have to make a choice. Is it more likely that they will be attacked by Iran or by Israel? And I think they can look around and say, you know, Israel helped us. Iran attacked us. What's the lesson here? The lesson is that Israel is not your natural enemy. Israel is not out to destroy you. Israel is not trying to take over your land. It's not sending missiles into your civilian territories. Who's doing that? Iran is.
The comments by Huckabee underline the growing defense relationship between Israel and the UAE. The UAE among the first members of the Abraham Accords member, formally recognizing Israel in 2020. Huckabee says he's very optimistic that additional countries in the region will soon join the Abraham Accords. President Trump and Chinese regime leader Xi Jinping are expected to meet and tackle some of the world's biggest flashpoints, from the war in Iran to Taiwan to artificial intelligence and nuclear weapons, and even a critical minerals deal. The summit could help shape the future of U.S.-China relations and the global balance of power. Here's a look at what's on the agenda.
US President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping are set for talks on Thursday and Friday in Trump's first trip to China since 2017. The leaders of the world's two largest economies will attempt to stabilize ties strained by trade, the US and Israeli war with Iran, and nuclear weapons. Alejandro Reyes from the University of Hong Kong's Department of Politics and Public Administration says it's an important summit for both leaders.
Not just the geopolitics, world geopolitics, but also in the global economy.
Here is what US officials say is on the agenda. China maintains ties with Iran and remains a major consumer of its oil exports. Trump has been leaning on China to use its influence to push Tehran to make a deal with Washington and end the ongoing conflict that began when the US and Israel launched strikes on Iran in late February. But Trump may be overestimating China's global influence.
So the idea that Tehran would sort of take notes from Beijing and do whatever Beijing wants it to do is really not a way to understand that relationship.
Xi, meanwhile, is frustrated with Washington over Taiwan. The US remains the most important international backer and arms supplier for the democratically governed island, which Beijing claims as its own Chinese territory. China has ramped up its military presence near Taiwan in recent years, but US policy will not change, an official said. The US and China are expected to agree to forums to facilitate mutual trade and investment, while China is expected to announce purchases related to Boeing airplanes, American agriculture and energy, the officials said. The two countries will also discuss lengthening a truce in their trade war that will allow rare earth minerals to flow from China to the US, though it is not clear if that agreement will be extended this week. The Trump aides expressed increasing concern about advanced artificial intelligence models being developed in China. They believe the two sides need a channel of communication to avoid conflicts arising from their use. Washington has also long hoped to open up talks with Beijing about nuclear weapons, though China remains reluctant to discuss its arsenal. Officials say China has made clear they have no interest in discussing nuclear arms controls.
Members of Congress are increasingly focused on China ahead of a scheduled meeting between President Trump and Chinese Communist Party leader Xi Jinping. Lawmakers are pushing for the release of prisoners of conscience held by the CCP while raising concerns about alleged Chinese espionage targeting Capitol Hill. NTD's Chris Bob reports.
This is a picture of Jimmy Lai in trial in China. You know what he's accused of? Fighting for freedom and democracy, right? So Xi put him in prison, solitary confinement for 5 years, and then in a kangaroo court gave him another 20 years. That's a death sentence for somebody 78 years old. The only thing Jimmy did was care about freedom and democracy.
A new House resolution introduced by Representative Chris Smith calls on President Trump to prioritize the release of multiple detainees during his meeting with Chinese leader Xi Jinping. They include Hong Kong publisher Jimmy Lai, Uyghur doctor Gulshan Abbas, and several Christian pastors imprisoned by the Chinese Communist Party. A separate bipartisan letter from the House Select Committee on the CCP praised what it calls the president's, quote, strong commitment to securing the release of unjustly detained Americans. The letter says, quote, publicly and privately raising the names of individual victims at the highest levels will help protect American citizens and businesses in China and deny the CCP the ability to use human beings as bargaining chips. Trump reinforcing that message Monday, saying he plans to again raise the case of Jimmy Lai and a detained pastor as well. The House panel's letter calls out the CCP's use of transnational repression, saying, quote, the CCP's repression does not stop at China's borders. It is designed to pressure people in the United States, chill speech and advocacy on U.S. soil, and demonstrate that the party can impose costs on Americans and their loved ones with impunity. Monday, the Committee on the CCP revealed what it described as an apparent Chinese intelligence recruitment attempt targeting a congressional staffer. The panel posting on X, quote, "A would-be spy offered a staffer on @ChinaSelect $10,000 for insider information on U.S. policy. Our staffer's response? Report it, document it, and expose it." And adding, quote, "This is exactly why the Select Committee on China exists, to shine a light on the CCP's efforts to infiltrate our institutions and to fight to protect U.S. national security." For Mother's Day, House Speaker Mike Johnson posting on X about imprisoned Uyghur Dr. Gulshan Abbas, quote, "We think of Ziba, Dr. Abbas's daughter, and others who won't be able to celebrate with their mothers, and we stand with her in calling on the CCP to free Dr. Abbas. The United States will always stand for human rights and freedom."
So President Trump's on board. We've got to do everything we can to get Jimmy Lai released.
The House resolution also calls on the Trump administration to seek proof detainees are alive, ensure that China provides them with access to lawyers and medical care, and maintain pressure on Beijing on matters involving religious liberty and political freedom. The vote is scheduled for Tuesday afternoon. Chris Bobb, NTD News.
President Trump says Cuba is asking for help and that talks with Havana will take place, though he gave no details on timing. Posting on Truth Social, the president says no Republican has ever discussed Cuba with him. He called it a failed country that's heading down, adding, quote, "In the meantime, I'm off to China." The comments come as his administration continues financial sanctions, a fuel blockade, and limits on travel. Earlier this year, President Trump tied Cuba policy to the U.S. action against Venezuela's leadership. His administration has also expanded pressure on Havana's economy and urged international alignment against it. Meanwhile, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth was asked about the national security risk posed by Cuba while testifying before the House Appropriations Committee.
You're also aware, Mr. Secretary, that, stated by U.S. intelligence, even during the Biden administration, the Trump administration, the previous administration, the Obama administration, that Cuba has been designated as one of the 4 most advanced espionage operations against the United States, and that they share intel with other adversaries of the United States.
That all very much sounds right, sir.
And again, we're not in a classified setting. So I'm just considering all those issues and others that we could talk about in a classified setting. Do you believe that the Cuban regime possesses a national security threat to the United States?
I do.
The 4 astronauts of NASA's Artemis II mission received a special honor today on Capitol Hill in recognition of their historic mission success. More news after this break. Stay with us.
This is an urgent appeal from Save the Children.
I saw war, bombing, shooting. I'm worried for my future.
Чую вибухи. Не знаю. І не ходжу в школу.
Conflict is raging across the world, and millions of children's lives are being devastated by war, hunger, disease. Online to givetosave.org to help save lives.
This is how I keep my joints happy.
Omega XL is a powerful natural supplement backed by 40 years of clinical research. Take control of your pain, like Cynthia Bailey.
My knees in particular started giving me pain issues all the way back to my modeling days, from just running through airports, photo shoots. After taking Omega XL, I really started to notice how less stiff I was, especially my knees and my hip. Has Omega XL changed my life? Yes. I barely notice my joint pain anymore. Now I'm like literally sprinting through the airports. My secret is Omega XL.
Pick up the phone and call now to get this exclusive TV offer. Buy one Omega XL and we'll send you a second bottle absolutely free. You'll also get a free bottle of Vitamin XL D3. Buy one, get two free. A total value of over $115, all for just $49.95. You save more than 55% and shipping is free. Backed by a money-back guarantee and is not available in stores. Operators are standing by, so call now.
This spring, New York City comes alive. A celebration of faith, culture, and freedom of belief. Thousands take to the streets of Manhattan to share a message you don't want to miss. Tune in to NTD's special live coverage of the 2026 World Fallen Dafa Day Parade. Tomorrow, May 13th at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. Live from New York City, only on NTD.
It's National Police Week, and President Trump is spotlighting his administration's law and order agenda, praising officers, highlighting crime reduction and border enforcement, and honoring those killed in the line of duty. At the White House today, or yesterday rather, the president calling for stronger support for police nationwide. Here's what he said.
President Trump welcoming officers and law enforcement leaders to the White House Rose Garden for a Police Week dinner focused on public safety and support for police. The president praising officers for their role in protecting American communities.
To all of the incredible police officers, sheriffs, deputies, law enforcement officers, all law enforcement, we want to thank you. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I respect nobody more than I respect you.
The White House proclamation for Police Week also honoring officers killed or injured in the line of duty. FBI Director Kash Patel separately noting the dangers officers continue to face nationwide.
Last year, 53 law enforcement officers in our country were feloniously killed in the line of duty, and another 28 heroes tragically suffered accidental deaths while protecting and serving their communities.
President Trump using Monday's event to spotlight crime reduction efforts in Washington, D.C.
We took it from a really dangerous, horrible situation into one of the safest cities anywhere in our country in a period of really a few months, and now it's just continued. And we have crime down by 90% in Washington, D.C. And overall, I think we took over 5,000 people, career criminals, out of D.C.
The president also connecting public safety to immigration enforcement and border security.
For the past 12 months in a row, think of that, 0 illegal aliens have been admitted to the United States through our southern border.
The president also highlighting an executive order he signed at the start of his second term.
That's why upon taking office, I signed an executive order directing the Attorney General that anyone convicted of killing a police officer should face the death penalty. 100%.
Federal agencies across Washington also marking the week with tributes and memorial events. At the Justice Department, Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche hosting a breakfast honoring officers.
For us at the Department of Justice, we try to say to everybody everywhere we go, over and over again, is that we love law enforcement. We love the men and women that keep us safe every day.
The DEA also honoring officers lost in the line of duty, saying, "Their memory inspires us, guides our mission, and strengthens our resolve to safeguard our communities and the future of all Americans." Meanwhile, labor groups and police survivor organizations are preparing for memorial events later this week in Washington. National Police Week events continue through Friday.
The 4 astronauts of NASA's Artemis II mission received a special honor today on Capitol Hill in recognition of their historic mission success.
The United States Senate, with the sponsorship of Senator Cantwell and myself, has passed a resolution honoring each of you for your extraordinary and historic endeavor.
There you are.
Wow. So each of you now has a resolution saying thank you, and that is passed unanimously on behalf of the Senate and is forever in the record of the United States of America that we collectively have said thank you for your leadership.
The most important word that I feel I can say here is not only thank you to enabling our mission, but congratulations. Because the people in these buildings are the people that made it possible for us to carry all of the dreams of all of humanity with us on this mission. And we like to say that what we do shows what humanity can accomplish when we come together to do great things. But those great things also have to have purpose, value, and the people in these buildings are the people that make sure that that's true and hold us accountable to that.
Senator Ted Cruz and Senator Marcia Cantwell introduced a bipartisan resolution to honor the success of the Artemis II mission. The 4 astronauts completed a historic 10-day mission around the moon in April, taking humans farther from Earth than ever before. Senator Cruz says the crew surpassed the record set by Apollo 13 for the farthest distance traveled by astronauts into deep space. In Central Florida, a K-9 is credited with helping locate a missing 96-year-old man. Here's a video of that mission.
Hey, I found him in the woods. Ray, you okay? Good boy! Good boy, Boomer! Good boy, Boomer!
This is Dad.
Ray Cornett went missing on Saturday. He lives near Tampa. The Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office began to search, and members brought in a K-9 named Boomer. Once Boomer became familiar with Cornett's scent, he started sniffing around, and a short time later, he found Cornett in a wooded area a couple of hundreds of yards from his home. Cornett was in good condition, and Boomer proved once again he is man's best friend. Thank you for watching NTD Newsroom. I'm Don Mao, taking a short break. We'll be back with more news, and remember, NTD Evening News is at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific.